Hello. Just doing some shares real quick and getting everybody invited. Alrighty. Let's get this thing going here.
Hello there.
Hey.
How you guys doing?
Good.
Pretty good. Are you using this handle tonight, Nathan?
Oops, I'm on the wrong one.
That's what I thought.
I hit it from the main screen. I'll be back.
Okay. Alrighty.
That's funny. I don't know the difference. I don't think I have his other channel.
You don't?
I don't think so. I don't know.
Well, let him know if you don't, so that you can, get that.
So I can make sure. Yeah, I will. Get it sorted out. Hi, Shannon.
Vic?
I see you in there.
Vic said he might be late because he's got a fire hall meeting thing. So.
All right, I saw that. Yeah. Nathan's back.
Okay, good.
Hey, y'all.
How you doing, Sally?
I'm good. How are you?
Good.
Can you guys hear me?
Good. We can, and it's clear and it's good.
I have my earphones in.
Yeah, it works way better, eh?
It does. After about an hour and a half, my ears start itching. They bug me a bit.
Yeah? What kind are they? Are they earbuds, like the ones that just don't have a cord on them, or?
No, they're the cheap corded ones.
Oh, they bother me. The headsets bother me.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys would love what I have. These are construction. These ones here are construction grade, Bluetooth. Like they don't have the cord that hooks to your computer, but they're not earbuds where you have to worry about it going through your head. But they're construction grade, so they have really soft, they're really durable, and they have really soft earbud things that go in your ears, and they work great. I never get a sore ear.
About the live.
I don't get it sore. I just itch. It makes my ears itch for some reason.
Oh, well, that's funny.
Yeah, it's not sore. I mean, I'm on my phone. I'm not on the computer. I'm on my cell phone.
Yeah.
But they're not.
I'm on my tablet, so.
It's not a Bluetooth one. Those are really bad for your ears.
Hey,
well,
guys.
They are if they don't have the wire. Like I have a wired Bluetooth, so it's construction. It's weird.
Okay.
It's like for construction companies, yeah.
I gotcha.
So Nick gets them for me.
Yeah.
They work great.
Hey, everybody coming in. I see you all. Hey, Tammy.
Hi, Tammy.
I see somebody else there, too. I can't read their name, though. It looks
Homesick
like Homesick
Taylor.
Taylor. There we go. That's cute.
Wonder
That's
why
cute.
she's so homesick.
Some people I know.
Yeah.
Oh, he's back. Okay.
I had to send her a link to Discord.
Who's that?
Homesick Taylor. She sent me a message. She said the link had expired.
Oh, okay.
So I
Okay.
had to back out of this to be able to do it.
Okay. Okay, I got. Yeah, I just sent you something too you needed to see.
Me?
No,
Or
Nathan.
Okay.
Yeah. Hey, Bella. So many people. I'm getting to know these names. That's great.
Yeah, I just said hi, Belka. That was weird. I'm trying to put my books together, and I'm typing at the same time. It's not probably wise. I'm almost done putting them together, though, so it's great.
Okay.
Hello, everyone.
Hey, guy. How's it going?
Well,
Hi, Bella.
Hello.
Hey, Bella.
Hi.
How's Bella tonight?
My feet are very sore.
We can't hear you very well. You sound like you're on the other side of the room again.
Can you hear me now?
Oh, that's better.
Yeah, that's much better.
I said my feet are a little sore. I've been painting for 3 days straight.
Oh, boy.
But
That's hard work.
I did want to say, I think Taylor's in your audience again. And he asked some questions. There was something that you asked that you weren't sure about. It asked about how the other Jesus can cast out, the demons, or how people are casting out the name. There's power in the name of Jesus, and they need to put the name of Christ to give it power. And this is Yahweh's kingdom. So we're not going to fight each other because a kingdom together.
I'm not hearing all that. Are y'all hearing that?
No, me either.
We're having a hard
struggling
time
to hear.
hearing you. It sounds like there's a lot of background noise or some wind or something.
Okay, give me a second. I'm going to go.
Yeah, I was trying to follow it, and I couldn't hear all of it. It's like,
Okay, I'm going to switch phones. Give me.
okay.
I could hear her.
You could?
Yeah, nobody could.
I have it turned all the way up and I couldn't understand. It sounds like somebody's breathing really heavy in a microphone.
That's going.
I couldn't hear her at all.
Oh. I thought maybe she was outside.
Hi,
Yeah,
Tina.
it sounds like she's far away.
Yeah.
Are you working on more of your 40 points tonight?
Yeah, I wasn't sure I had my mic on, and I was making sure I didn't have it on mute.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we're going to
Yeah.
continue on that. I wanted to talk a couple of verses before
Okay.
that, and then we're going to start back on that.
Okay. Sounds
Because
good.
there was something I wanted to show to, in case some of the people were here that are thinking that the 70 AD thing already happened. Well, it did. Some of it happened, but we're not done yet, I don't think. There she is.
Right, right.
Hopefully we can hear her this time.
I don't see
I shot her
now.
invite.
Hi, Vita.
It's been kind of sluggish. I should have rebooted my thing today.
Can you guys hear me now?
Oh, that's so much better.
Yes.
Yeah, now tell us what you were telling us.
Okay. Sorry. There was a gal in your audience from the other day that asked some questions. One of them was Taylor. If she's still in here, she had asked a question about how people are able to cast out Jesus or cast out demons with the name of Jesus. And I was trying to tell you guys that the way people are able to do that is because there's power in the name of Jesus. And when you put Christ, behind it, you're giving power to the Christ by using the name of Jesus. So, and this is Yahweh's kingdom, and they cannot, if they are divided, they'll fall. Does that make sense? So they work together in this kingdom, knowing their little plan. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That
So-
makes sense.
So they're not really casting out demons. In other words, they're just obeying.
I've been wondering about that. We were talking about that today.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And then she had asked about, I'll have to go look. I wrote it down. but I'll come back and list, or I'll I'll think of it and let you know again what the other one was.
Okay. All right.
She is in the audience, I think,
Oh, good.
in the comments.
Good deal. We're gonna continue on with
Taylor
this
there.
with this stuff that I've been talking about the is Yahweh the dragon who deceives all. My stance is yes, but I'm the one that did this research, so it's like, I've already seen all of it. But I don't expect anybody to take my word for it. Whatever I say, study it out, and then you'll have to decide for yourself. That's what I always tell people, because, I'm human. Let's see. Pull up my file here. I wanted to touch on this a little bit. It's kind of hard to see, but this is Luke 23:29. And what we have in there is, for behold, the days are coming in which they shall say, blessed are the barren, the wombs that never bare, and the paps which never gave suck. Okay, I break everything down word by word. I go look at the etymology. I look at ancient Greek dictionaries to see what they say, and I look at old lexicons, you name it, and I put it in about. Well, I used to put it in 4 translators. Now I have 6 that I'm putting it in to see what they spit out. And I kept getting these oddball things on there, and I was like, what is wrong with this verse? Because usually if I see a lot of weirdness coming up, there's something really bad wrong with the verse. So I went back and analyzed it word for word. And what I got was, and this is going to blow people's minds. Behold, since the days are coming in which one betroths an AI, Machara, which is a daughter of Hades, from the sterile and lower region, AI, which are not born, and their breasts do not give suck. And I thought, okay, this is wild. So I went to a 10th AD lexicon that's real popular and looked it up. And Machara is death, the daughter of Hades. And had a private, go the blessedness instead of misery or utter destruction, go the blessedness is said euphemism. Even the dead are called the blessed ones. But a Machara actually way back then was a daughter of Hades. I'm like, that's wild. And then you think, well, how can that be? They got AI translated as thee twice. Well, there's other places that AI is not translated, and they say it's because they didn't have an English equivalent or they didn't know how it fit in the sentence. And this is one of those verses right here. Matthew 24:22. This verse is about, unless those days are cut short, no flesh would survive. We all know that verse. Well, when you can see right here, under AI both times, it's just blank. There's nothing there. They did not translate it. Okay, so I go down here and I throw it into all this stuff that I do. And the English we have says, and except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved, but for the elect's sake, those days shall be shortened. What I got when I looked at it in Greek, and this is looking in the modern and the ancient Greek, and except the AI days are truncated or mutilated, there would be no intact flesh be saved. But because of the selected or chosen ones, those AI days are mutilated or truncated. And I thought, truncated? I had to go look that up because I'm not a computer person, but that's a computer term. It's like terminated. And the flesh in that sentence, sarnix literally means natural physical origin. Now, why would it be termed to be natural physical origin, born of natural generation, not abnormal? So, this is some of the reasons why when people ask me, is it all completed in 70 AD? I just have to say no. I don't think it's all over with yet. There's just too much evidence in there that it's not. But we're going to continue on looking at how Yahweh is the dragon in Revelation, how he compares and stacks up. What I did was, and for those that are new, I took 40 points And I tried to see if Yahweh fit those 40 things from Revelation to see if he was the dragon or not. And every one of them was a positive. Yes, it fit. But I'll show you how they fit. Like I compare the verses. Okay, we were on 31, so we're going to start on 32. Both the dragon and Yahweh, no one can fight them or stand against them. We hear in Revelation 13:4. And they worshipped the dragon, for he had given his authority to the beast. And they worshipped the beast, saying, Who is like the beast? And who can fight against it? Well, we see this over and over in the Old Testament in 2 Chronicles 26. And they said, O Lord God of our fathers, are you not the God in heaven? Did you not rule over the kingdoms of the nations? Power and might are in your hand. There's no one able to take a stand against you. Malachi 3:1-2. Behold, I send my messengers, and he will prepare the way before them. And the Lord whom you seek will suddenly come into his temple, and the messenger of the covenant in whom you delight, behold, he is coming, says the Lord of hosts. But who can endure the days of his coming? Who can stand when he appears? For he is like a refiner's fire and like fuller's soap. Okay, fuller's soap. I found out what a fuller is. A fuller is a laundromat. I had to look that one up. Let's see. The other verse I got was, the Lord is jealous and avenging God, and the Lord is avenging and wrathful. The Lord takes vengeance on his adversaries and keeps wrath over his enemies. Who can stand before his indignation? Who can endure his heat of his anger? His wrath is poured out like fire, and the rocks are broken into pieces by him. So both of them, yeah, they have verses where it says who can stand against them. Okay. Do both the dragon and Yahweh use pharmakia as a form of deception? Yep, they do. And for those that don't know, pharmakia is said to be, by Thayer's dictionary, the use or administration of drugs. And Muntz says it's the employment of drugs for any purpose. Let's see. And we have, they neither repented of their murders, nor their sorceries, nor their fornication, nor their thefts. Well, sorceries is pharmakia. And the light of the candle shall shine no more in all of thee. The voice of the bridegroom and the bride shall be heard no more in all thee. For the merchants were the great men of the earth, for by their sorceries or pharmakia were all the nations deceived. So they're literally saying that the pharmakia or the employment of drugs was the reason for the nations being deceived. Now, we think of, does Yahweh use that? You know, well, when we look at Isaiah 47, 7-11, and he said, I shall be the princess forever. Thou didst not perceive these things in thine heart. Thou didst not remember the later end. And now hear these words, thou luxurious ones, who art the ones that sit at ease, that is secure, that say in their heart, I am, and there is no other, and I shall sit a widow, neither shall I know bereavement. So they're bragging that they're not going to be a widow, they're not going to sit unsecure. And then in verse 9 he says, but now these two things shall come upon thee suddenly, in one day. The loss of children, widowhood, shall come suddenly upon thee, for thy sorcery, or thy pharmakia in Greek, for the strength of thine enchantments, for the trusting in wickedness, for thou said, I am, and there is not another. Know thou and understand these things, that thy harlotry shall be thy shame. And they said in their heart, I am, and there is no other. And destruction shall come upon thee, and thou shalt not be aware. There shall be a pit, and thou shalt fall into it. And grief shall come upon thee, and thou shalt not be able to be cleared. and destruction shall suddenly come upon thee, and thou shalt not know. It's like you're not going to even know about it, but it's going to happen to you. I thought that was interesting, though. Okay, we have another area where it's also about pharmakia, which I didn't expect to find, but in 1 Chronicles 21:1, Satan stood up against Israel and incited David to number Israel. Well, the word for number in Hebrew is also dose, like in dose with a medication. And if I didn't do all these checks, like looking at the modern, the ancient, all these different dictionaries, I would have never known that. 2 Samuel, well, you think, well, that's Satan. But in 2 Samuel 24:1, we have the same account, and it says Yahweh. It says, and again, the displeasure of Yahweh burned against Israel, and he was incited David to number or dose Israel and Judah. So you have it in one text saying it was Satan, and in the other text saying it was Yahweh that did it. So what does this mean for us today? It's very interesting because we have Anthony Stephen Fauci, which his name means praiseworthy crown of the sickle. And his mother's name was Eugenia Abbes, which means the gene from the abyss. When we look at Revelation 18:23, and the light of the lamp will shine no more in thee, and the voice of the bridegroom and the bride will be heard no more. For your merchants were the great ones of the earth. All the nations were deceived by your pharmakia. It kind of smacks home in a little bit. But then it's like Revelation 14:4, one like a son of man, not the son of man, but one like a son of man. He had a golden crown, a corona in Latin, on his head, and a sharp sickle. And Fauci's family name means sickle in his hand. And we have him quoted in Science as saying, I'm going to keep pushing. It's like he's going to keep doing this, no matter what. Now, I don't know what's going to come of this now, but I think it's pretty interesting. Okay. Here's the Revelation 14:4, and I looked and beheld a white cloud, or Nephilim, and seated on the cloud of the Nephilim was one like a son of man. This is the actual verse. And a golden crown was on his head, and a sharp sickle was in his hand. And another angel came out of the temple, calling with a loud voice, who sat on the cloud, Put in your sickle and reap, for the hour to reap is come, and for the harvest of the earth is fully ripe. So he who sat on the cloud swung his sickle across the earth, and the earth was reaped. Okay, Nephilim, interesting enough, is what we have named for the NIH microbe analysis engine, which brings together the data on the cloud computing environment, all the information about everybody and their, I don't know how to say it, their jabs they got. And Nephilim is, that they named this, is the same word for cloud. And we have a cloud computer system. I mean, this is a pretty extreme stuff. Nephilim is a microbe analysis engine which brings together the microbe data and analysis tools in the cloud computing environment. It offers robust multi-step microbe analysis pipelines with no setup time or cost. It's to address major challenging facing research today, namely analyzing, transferring, and storing biomedical big data. It's a place where they store all the data about everybody. I don't know if I need to go through that. I'm not going to go through all the modern stuff. We'll show you this, though. This site just went bye-bye after I made this card and posted it on Facebook. But it's, said, and I saw the beast Therion is his name in Greek. And the kings of the earth and their armies gathered to make war against him, who was sitting on the horse and against his armies. Well, it's very interesting that this is the name that they chose for that. Can y'all see that? Because I don't want to say it on here because it'll get me a strike. But it's interesting that they chose the name Therion. And I don't know if they're recreating this stuff. Are they using this as an algorithm? And it already happened. Because if I put it in ancient Greek, you can see that a lot of this was carried out during the 1st century. But when I put it in modern, it's happening today. So, and there is a verse in there that says, and I found it, it's in Luke. I wish I'd have wrote that down tonight before I did this, but I forgot. But it does say, don't think I will not forgive you. And he's specifically talking about this thing right here. And that was Jesus that said it. So do not think if you have been one of those that did that you are not forgiven, because you are. That worried me, because I got family members that did. And as deep as I dig, I went looking to see if there was any forgiveness for this, and there is. Okay. It's real interesting, though, when you look at the message that's been sent to us mentally. When you look at the buildings and stuff, just look at that. And compare what it looks like in the middle. Very, very similar. It's like the whole planet has moved into some kind of pharmakia beast system.
All the church steeples, too, have that on the top.
Yep, they sure do. Okay. I'll show you this real quick, too, since I've gone this far. You see these formulas here? And this verse over here, this is 13:16. And he makes every or all of their small, and their adult, and their rich, and their poor, and their free, and their slaves, fiber dosing, the notch on the right chirality of them. Okay, on the H in Greek, in the fronts of them. Okay, I was like, I was a science buff, and he's literally, you could write that you know what, by that verse, literally, the formula. Because it attaches on the fronts of the H's in this notch right here on the right. See the little hexagons all together? It look like a honeycomb. It attaches to the H right there. Is where that thing attaches to people. You could write it from that verse. It blew my mind. And I know this is like, and it's like a fiber thing. It's a weave. They explain that. The graphene-based fiber attaches on that notch. They show the notch, and then they show on the H where it attaches. Exactly like the verse. Now that's reading it in modern Greek. That's not reading it in ancient. And they say, oh, leave modern out of it. That's why they're telling people to leave modern out of it. They don't want people to know this, I think. And what is chirality? Chirality, right? Chirality is how medications attach to the DNA tree. And they attach to the H molecule on the DNA. let's see. And I think this is what Paul meant when he said everybody would be grafted in. You know, I think they've already been grafted in. And y'all be leery of this little thing right there. I ain't going to say what it is. You can see the picture. Because it's described as a stamp. Looks an awful lot like a stamp to me. So just be leery of that, you know. You're pushing it real hard. It's like get an extra bargain in your supermarket if you use your phone to scan that. Why are they doing that? Why are they pushing that specific thing? And in Luke 22:40, and being at the place, he said of them, pray to not enter into the test. Well, in Greek, that word is experiment. A putting to the proof of experiment. Experience or solicitation. That just blew my mind. Okay. Yes, they do. They'll tell you they don't, but they do. That's an actual box. When you see WI38, that's human diploid cells. You say HEK293, that's human embryonic kidney cells. They put them in there like initials. I was an RN for 17 years. So, and I did not know this at the time when I was nursing. That's how well this is covered up. Okay. There's so much more in the Old Testament too I could go over, but on here I just wouldn't have the time to do it all. It's a lot. And this is interesting too. This is Revelation 8:7. It says, the first angel sounded, and there followed hail and fire mingled with blood, and they were cast upon the earth, and a third part of the trees were burnt up, and all the green grass was burnt up. Well, hail is chazaz, and fire is lightning. It's pur in Greek, and it was mingled with blood. Okay, when you make a jab, you use that little white part on the egg that you probably saw your mama take that white part and separate it out and get rid of that little white little tag looking thing on the egg. Well, that's something they were told when they were kids. You're not supposed to eat that part, but that's what they use to make the binders for the stuff that makes it go through your body. So, in its exact process that they're talking about up there in Revelation 8:7, when you put it in modern Greek. And they put the luciferase in it, and it's like something that holds it slippery, makes it go through your body. They use that part of the egg to do it with. Trying to think what else I wanted to cover on this part. And the HEK293 cells were isolated from a human embryonic kidney in 1973. The sample was taken from a legal abortion in the Netherlands. The genes were inserted in the cell, and they made them immortal, they said, meaning they were able to divide forever and keep procreating themselves. And so therefore they can use them over and over and over again. They call these cells HeLa cells. Well, Hela is the goddess of the underworld in Greek mythology. And the word for giants in the Old Testament, where it says the sons of God just came down and mated with the women and they were giants. Well, the Nephilim word means also in modern Hebrew, it means aborting ones or abortionist. It's like it has a dual meaning. I just find it very amazing that they use that. And that's what they named the cells they're using from an aborted fetus. There was another place in here in the Old Testament too. Exodus 8:6. Aaron stretched out his hand upon the waters of Egypt, and he led the frogs, and was brought up in frogs and covered them at the land of Egypt. And likewise also the enchanters of Egypt with their pharmakia. They led the frogs also in the land of Egypt. So it's literally talking about the same word in Greek, the pharmakia stuff. And they're literally making right now living robots made from frog stem cells. In Science, that was in an article January 21st of 2020. Xenobots, they call them, at the University of Vermont. Supercomputer was used to create possible configuration of frog stem cells. Experiment conducted at Tufts University where the cells were collected and separated to develop specialized cells. Biologists then manually shaped the modified cells into clumps and matched them with a computer design. Various modern remodels of the organism were conducted to explore the different functions and capabilities of cell groups. So they were taking frog cells and turning stem cells from frogs and turning them into robotic. Part biology, part robot. I went over that, I think. Yeah, that was the dosing thing. This is where I found that about David and the dosing. It's a dictionary thing. See if you can see it there. That I use. Morphix and a place called Do It Hebrew. But it also means number or dose, either one. Let's see what else. And you have to watch these little jokers now, because the little Q-tip things. Because Johns Hopkins researchers have developed a tiny shaped changing machines that deliver medicine into the GI tract on the tip of a Q-tip. So be careful of that. Just FYI. That's from an article in 2020 from Johns Hopkins Research. Let's see. Alright. I already talked about that. Okay, we'll continue on. I hope that doesn't get me a strike, but y'all need to know about this stuff. Both the dragon and Yhwh caused the rivers to turn to blood. It says in Revelation 16:4, the third angel poured out his bowl on the rivers and the springs of water, and they became blood. And I heard an angel charged of the water say, Just are you, O Holy One, who is and who was, for you have brought your judgments, for they have shed the blood of the saints and prophets, and you have given them blood to drink. It's what they deserved. Well, when we look at Exodus and Psalms, we can see the same thing. It's like Moses and Aaron did as the Lord commanded in the sight of Pharaoh, and in the sight of the he will lift up his staff and struck the water of the Nile, and all the water in the Nile turned to blood. So their drinking water turned to blood. And the fish in the Nile unalived, and the Nile stank. And the Egyptians could not drink the water from the Nile, and there was blood throughout all the land of Egypt. And it even says that in Psalm 78:44 that they couldn't drink it because it turned to blood. It says, He turned their rivers to blood so they could not drink of their own streams. Okay. Both the dragon and Yahweh have lightning. That's pretty simple because Jesus told us in Luke 10:18, and he said, I saw Satan fall like lightning from heaven. And Matthew 28:2, and behold, there was a great earthquake, and an angel of the Lord descended upon the heaven, came and rolled back like a stone and sat on it. His appearance was like lightning, and his clothing white as snow. So we can imagine when that happened. Then we see this in Psalms 97:1 through 4. The Lord reigns, let the earth rejoice, and let the multitude of the islands be glad. Clouds and darkness all around him, righteousness and justice are the foundation of his throne. A fire goes out before him and burns up his adversaries on every side. His lightning lights up the world. The earth sees and trembles. So Yahweh's lightning lights up the earth. The sound of your thunder was in the whirlwind, and the lightning lit up the world, and the earth shook and quaked. So Yahweh is definitely likened to lightning. How am I doing? Okay. Both the dragon and Yahweh have temples with people dressed in fine linen. We see that in Revelation 17:3, and he carried me away in spirit in the wilderness, and I saw a woman sitting in a scarlet beast, and was full of blasphemous names. It had 7 heads and 10 horns. The woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet, and adorned with gold and jewels and pearls, holding in her hand a golden cup full of abominations and impurities of her sexual immorality. Cargo of gold, silver, jewels, pearls, fine linen, purple cloth, silk, scarlet cloth, all kinds of scented wood, all kinds of ivy, all kinds of costly wood, bronze, iron, and marble. Now, when we look at Exodus, we see in 28:5, they shall take the gold and the blue and the purple and the scarlet and the fine linen, and they shall make an ephod of gold, of blue and purple and scarlet, and fine twined linen, and the work of skillful workmen. The breastplates also in Genesis 11:6, if you want to look at that one too. Both the dragon and Yahweh caused floods. The dragon poured out water like a river out of his mouth after the woman to sweep her away with a flood. Well, we know all about the flood. I mean, we've got the flood in Noah's time, and then we've also got other mentions of it in Jeremiah 46:7. Who is this rising like the Nile, the rivers whose waters surge? Egypt rises like the Nile, like rivers of those waters surge. I will rise and I will cover the earth. I will destroy the cities and their inhabitants. And he goes on down in verse 10 and says, For the Lord God of hosts holds a sacrifice in the north country by the river Euphrates. You can read the whole thing from like Jeremiah 1 through 10, but it's him doing the floods. Let's see. That's the last one. I can't believe it. We made it through all of them. That's 40 of them. 40 things that Yahweh matches from Revelation as the dragon. Maybe we should open this up and let people talk now if they want to. And what do y'all think?
Sounds good.
I wondered if y'all were live there.
No, it's just hard to get to the mute button sometimes.
Yeah. If y'all want to come up and have questions, or you just want to, discuss what we talked about, and do you have things to add, that you might know that I didn't mention?
I have a question about the bridegroom. The bridegroom is not our Abba, right? That's all Yahweh.
Yeah, that's Yahweh, because he said it'd be like the days of Noah. They were eating and drinking and marrying and giving in marriage.
Yeah.
And he
Okay.
said,
I just wanted to make sure.
And when we go to heaven, he said that we don't marry.
Yeah.
We're like the angels.
Okay. I just wanted to make sure I heard you right. Sorry. It's hard to hear.
That's the impression I get, from the text.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
Shannon.
I think we're all on the same page with that. I just wanted to make sure so other people knew too that we're listening.
Hello there.
Yeah.
I had a question about the pharmakia.
Question.
Hi.
Okay.
On the pharmakia, is pharmakia only man-made drugs, or is that like herbs and things like that, natural things that come from the ground?
I don't think he meant don't take medicine at all, because pharmakia means the deployment of a drug. It's specific. It means that somebody's going to give out a drug. According to Munz, that's what it means.
Yeah, it's a drug that's given to you by deception, like forced on you, which is buy or sell,
I don't think it had to do with all medications. I know a lot of people take that stance, but I don't think it did. And I think it said in there, because there's another verse where it says outside, or and the word is pharmacist in Greek, but I think that's because they knew better and they kept giving it anyway. You know what I mean? That would be my impression, because I've talked to all of them, and I'm like, how can you do this? I don't understand.
Yeah, Father knows we live in a fallen world and fallen flesh, and that we need to, our trust and faith should be in Him to heal us, which it is. But I think He knows, and this is just in my opinion, I'm not saying it's right, but from, seeking Him on it myself about things, He's always laid heavy on my spirit that we're in a fallen world and fallen flesh, and it's how we have to get by, because everything alone we're being poisoned in our food, our water, our air. You get me? So don't feel guilty unless something's convicting you. That's totally different.
I was an RN for 17 years and worked trauma. And it's like I would have died at 27 had I not had an operation. To have that operation, I had to have medication to be put to sleep. It's like, had I been a non-pharmaceutical person where I wouldn't let them give me anything, I wouldn't even be here today to talk to y'all. It's like, because people back before they had that surgery they died. It's like, I think that we have to use a lot of common sense, and I think they push a lot of meds that people do not need, and they're doing it for the money, So I think you just have to use common sense and weigh out, well, how dangerous is this med compared to what I'm gonna, to what I'm facing, and then you have to watch. Like, I think with this latest thing we've had, I think everybody has kind of seen that there's some major deception in that one. But it literally says the deployment of a medication. So deployment is almost a military term. It made me real nervous when they kept using that word during the the big deal stuff going on.
Well, Trump did. He did call it Operation, Warp Speed. So that
Yep.
and he was using the military to deploy it. So there you go.
What about blood transfusions? How does
I
that pan out?
personally have told them no. And I'm in an extreme situation right now because I have tumors and I could need one anytime, as a life-saving thing, but I will not get one because I'm too afraid of what might be in the other person's blood that I would get, you know. Now that's me personally. I'm not giving that advice to anybody because that may mean I leave y'all sooner, but it's like, I'm just like, I don't want that stuff in my body, you know. They won't let me, Jen. I've had cancer 3 times. They won't let me give my own. And my mom used to give it when I had open chest surgery. My mom gave blood for me in case I needed it. But she's passed away now.
You know what's crazy is your spouse, when you're married, you become one. So you and your spouse are one. Now, my spouse and I are both O positive. And if I needed blood, he said he would give me his blood. But I told him, I says, I don't even think the hospital would even allow it, because it's got to be withdrawn and filtered and whatever they do. But I told him, I said, if I need blood, let me go.
Yeah, my mom had to know. We had to know in advance to be able to do that. They can't just show up and say, oh, I'm going to give her blood. It don't work like that. They have to go through all this stuff. And luckily, we had time enough for Mom to do that, Because her blood mixed with mine when I was in her. I felt fine with that, It's like I was her baby, so.
Yeah, that's one thing. But yeah, see what I mean? But you get me. Like, I wouldn't take blood from somebody that isn't my spouse or my parent. Does that make sense?
Right.
Especially if they're Y2K'd, you know what I mean?
Yep.
Yeah, if they got that Y2K, stay away from them.
Is that what you were thinking, Shannon? Same thing?
Just the way I was raised, the cult I was in, they were big on no blood transfusions. And I always wondered about that. And since I'm out of that now,
Well,
I don't know what to think.
They do dig real deep into the meanings of the words. That's probably why they had that stance on it, I bet. Because I've read through their stuff online.
Is there not a scripture, though, that says to abstain from blood? I thought I read that somewhere.
Yeah, and the Levitical laws.
Yeah, that's in
Eating-
Yahweh's
Okay.
stuff.
Okay.
Eating blood.
Okay, that makes sense. But still, I don't want it. I'll
Right.
abstain. Yeah.
Yeah.
And IV is just like eating it because you can give hyperalimentation straight into the vein. You can give people food into their vein as long as it's broken down.
I had just.
Is that, sorry.
Oh no,
sorry.
go ahead. No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, is that not what a TPN is, Ghana?
Yeah, same
That my
thing.
mother-in-law's on? Okay,
Yep.
yeah.
They're feeding her through her vein.
I was just going to loop back around to the pharmakia thing too, and I saw this interesting video a while back that who knows if it's true, I don't know, maybe some of you have seen this video, but it's like this pastor was like kind of doing what is it called? Like when there's a demon in somebody and they're possessed, what is it called? Like
Exorcist?
Exorcism, yes. And he was doing like an exorcism on this thing. And I don't know, but she was talking about pharmakia, and they actually were talking about the jab. And this supposed demon in this woman was talking about how you could be forgiven even if you did take the jab, all that kind of thing. But something that was interesting that was said in that interview was talking about, or maybe it was I was watching a whole video that had a bunch of curated ones, so maybe it wasn't that specific clip, but in that video, it was talking about antidepressants also, and how it kind of like can energetically, because it kind of shuts down a portion or something like that, like something in the brain that's like or your spiritual connection. And it almost kind of allows, I don't know, it kind of like makes your guard kind of go down. Like it maybe makes you more susceptible or vulnerable to other energies or entities, kind of thing. And it's interesting because I've had plenty of friends who have been on antidepressants and they felt like they almost felt vulnerable in that way. So I don't know if that has anything to do with it too, just to like, protect your energy when you're on certain drugs. And I totally understand if you need it, like, you know what I mean? I would never advise someone to get off something like that if they need it, but just to have like extra precautions. Something else I was gonna say about the pharmacia that I thought about was, I know in the Old Testament, I can't remember whose blog it was, but I read it maybe about a year ago. And he was like proving all these points that in the temple, they're using like hallucinogens, like they were using certain drugs or sorcery, whatever, to connect with quote unquote their divine, probably Yahweh. So I'm wondering if there's any, and I know that like Freemasonry, I know that when you get into like the higher levels, they use a lot of these mind altering drugs and stuff to do these rituals. And so I'm wondering if any of that has to do potentially or a connection with pharmakia, because I know that just even from a friend who was a Mason at one point, he told me that, you get to a certain degree and you have to do these specific drugs and as part of a ritual. And I don't know. So that's something else I thought about.
That's wild.
I know I was on antidepressants for a few years. I was on them for quite a while. It's been 5 or 6 years since I've been on them. But I was on Prozac, and Prozac is literally rat poison. That's what it is. And it does disconnect you from God because it mutes your ability to feel. That's how they work. It takes away your ability to feel joy, And I just got sick of them. Like when I woke up, and came back to Father, I just quit taking them, like cold turkey, which you're not supposed to do. But I'm on nothing. I don't take anything right now.
I made a list of everything that I don't want in my body, and when they prescribe me something, I literally ask them. They think I'm crazy, but I ask them. I say, is this, and this? I have a list. If any of these things are in it, I'm not going to take it. So let me know. And they've been real honest with me so far. Because I'll go back and check them online, and I can't find any of those things in it. So that's not to say they won't be in the future. I would advise everybody to, anytime they want to give you something, even if you feel it and bring it home, look it up and see what's in it. See what's listed. If you don't know what it is, just copy and paste it and see what it is. Put it in a search. And then if it's something you don't want in your body, then say, no, you're going to have to find something else because this has got this and such in it, and I don't want that in my body. Because it's a complex world right now we're in. It's very complex. I feel like we're in a sci-fi nightmare.
I pray over everything that I have to take. Like I agree with what Bella was saying earlier. I think there's times when we have to take medication, right? And I just, in those occasions, I pray over it. And I ask that, I'm protected and that the medicine only do what it's intended to do.
Correct. That's what I would be doing too, because Father will protect those, that are his children. He will. And if they give you something deceitfully, that's not your fault. You didn't just openly go seek it or worship it or want it yourself, Good question, Shan. Good questions.
If there's anybody that wants to come up in the chat, I'll step down.
Yeah, Melanie, that's the way I feel. I feel that way. I don't like it either.
I do have a comment / question that I want to make sure everybody gets their question out about this specifically, like this broadcast specifically. I was just listening to your video, the geography part 3 today, and I thought, yeah, there were some interesting points that I was going to... Okay. All right. Anyway, so yeah, I don't know if anybody else had anything about this broadcast specifically, but I was just going to ask you about the the Shekinah Juno person deity.
Yeah, that's very interesting, isn't it? That's
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah, it's kind of what I mentioned. What I don't know what live it was when I was on last week, maybe Wednesday or something. But talking about the female goddess, which I was like, yes, this Shekinah, Juno. What was the other Hera or something like that?
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
Hera.
Yeah. So essentially, I don't know if you mentioned this, and maybe I didn't catch it, but so she's female, and like I see in the comments right now, I think Bella is saying Juno is, Yahweh. So there's a male and a female aspect, or did you say like they're married, or like, I don't understand how all that kind of works. Does that make sense? I don't know if that's even, yeah.
They're called cohorts
Okay.
in ancient Greek, but it's like they could possibly be androgynous, I guess. Even.
Yeah, because they kind of like the Baphomet, right? Like the Baphomet has the male and female and everything like that. So yeah, and I know that they kind of, through hormones and through different things and our food, they're kind of driving this through all the trends, they're driving this androgynous kind of thing, right? So
Lucifer
anyway.
is he, she.
Okay, yeah, that would make more sense.
Okay, so when we say Yahweh is made up of multiple deities, demiurges. Does that make sense?
Okay.
Yeah, it's not just one person. So you got Lucifer at the top, who is the quote unquote Alpha and Omega. And then you've got Michael, Uriel, Raphael, Gabriel. There's several others. There's 7 total at the top. And then you've got the 72 below them. But
Yeah.
when they were created man and woman. So Lucifer, that's why when you look at the Statue of Liberty and it has breasts, that's why.
Right.
Because Lucy in the sky with diamonds. Do you get
Right.
it?
That's why I was confused. I was like, female, male. Okay. Yes.
That's why they have, you'll see like the old angels that'll have like the statues and whatnot, they'll have breasts because they're men down there, but female up there.
Oh my gosh, that is so, yeah. Okay.
And when
that makes more sense.
when they fell, they became men and died like men. Does that make sense? But they're able to vessel jump and they know how to come back.
Yeah. Wow. That is so interesting. Okay. Yeah.
So were they created by our Father?
Yeah, they were originally angels.
So they were male and female
Yeah.
angels?
Yeah. Look at the first
Okay, I've never
creation
heard that
story.
before.
Let us,
Yeah.
and then,
I
and then Lucifer even said, let us create man in our image. And then he split them. Remember?
oh, okay.
So when he first created Adam and Eve, they were together and he split them.
Tina had a question in the chat. Do you guys believe if we don't get it right this time, we have to come back and do it again, reincarnation? I wonder about that because of that verse where Jesus says Elijah's already come. It indicates that Elijah would come again, So I'm not really sure, but there's something weird about it, whether we have to keep doing this over and over till we get connected to Father or not. What do you guys think?
Yeah. It's regeneration of the soul. It's in Titus 3:5 when you translate it.
Yeah,
And,
I thought the same thing, that you'd come back.
Yeah, and Bart Ehrman even told a story in one of his little coffee TED Talks, or what do they call it? And he was talking about how when, hold on one second, for some reason there's an echo. Okay, can you hear me? I'm trying to figure out why there's an echo.
I heard you. I heard a little echo, though.
Yeah, somebody's mic might be on then. Okay, now I don't hear it. So Bart Ehrman was telling a story in one of his little segments or whatnot. And he was talking about how when Paul and Nero got into it or something, he told Nero, well, I'll just come back and I'll haunt you. and Nero put him to death or whatnot. And whoops, I just said that word. Sorry. And I guess that he sliced him, we'll just say, and out came milk, because milk, you're reborn. Did you guys ever hear that story from Bart Ehrman? I have it recorded. I can always post it. Yeah. It's wild, though. And I was just like, what? So then after that, Nero was worried that Paul was going to come back and get him, you know?
I agree with Shannon. I hope I never have to come back here.
Yeah, I've thought about that too because, I was in the New Age for a while back, years ago. And it is interesting because I never wanted to do the past life regression, but I had many dreams that I was this other person. And like I knew it was me. It wasn't in my body that I have now, but it was like in a man's body. And it was just like a normal day. And I had this dream multiple times where it was like I was in that body and I was like in a tribe and I had dark skin and I was just doing normal things. And it's super interesting because I used to go to energy workers and I had two separate energy workers tell me that I have certain fears in my life because I was kidnapped in a previous life. And I didn't actually put much, clout in that, but it is interesting because they picked up on this fear that I know it sounds kind of random, but like being kidnapped as a child, like it was a really big deal for me. And I don't know where that even came. And two energy workers as I grew up told me that. And so I've kind of played with the idea, not that I believe in it from a sense of like I have to work to like like in different cultures in the world, like you have to be a better person to like reincarnate into something else, right? But I've had this idea potentially that we're kind of stuck in this matrix system, and it's almost like like we haven't broken out of it. And I've thought about that. I'm like, I wonder, because the old soul thing, right? Like people are like, oh, you're an old soul or something like that. And there's people I feel like who are here walking around and you're like, they know, like, I feel like kind of people on this group, it's like, things like, you know that this is not the real thing, and I'm like, have we just been here over and over? And our spirit has like kind of gotten to the point of like, recognizing these things over our lives or, I don't know. It's kind of an interesting idea. I don't like it, but anyway, something to think about.
Yeah, it is. It's a whole lot.
What I find interesting is how all of us were kind of warned in the spirit not to do a certain thing. Do you know what I mean? And it's like it was time for Abba to call us all home. The ones that know, like, seek his truth. Does that make sense? Do you guys follow me?
Yeah, I find that interesting too. Across the board, people just definitely thought that was a bad idea to go do that. And it's like, and they were, it's like, I just don't feel right about it. They would get this like premonition not to do it, and it's like, I think that was from Father. I'm leery of the the word for call in Greek is phone. And I'm leery of the phones too, because I had a dream about the phones. In that dream, Father told me to get rid of my 5G phone. And I thought, I don't have a 5G phone. That's odd that he would be telling me that in my dream. So I called Verizon and I said, is my phone upgradable to 5G or anything? She said, just a second, let me check. And she went and pulled my phone up on the computer and she came back and she said, oh, no worries, your phone is a 5G. I was like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know it was a 5G. I had to replace it because I accidentally caught the cord one night and broke it, sent it across the room with my foot and getting out of bed, and I couldn't believe it was a 5G. I immediately got rid of the phone. I've lived without a phone now for, I know, close 3 years, almost 4. I'm hardlined online with a ground cable in a Faraday cage. But see, I'd just be really careful about that because there's the call that's going to go out. And I got a bad feeling about it. Do not answer the phone if you don't know who it is, too. Just let it ring. If it's important, they'll leave a message. Oh, I didn't cover that card either. I had a card for the phone and for the bowls. The bowls in Greek are vials, vials, and they're described as in ancient Greek terminology as being little glass vials, like bottles. And I find that real interesting too. And the lightning is purr, and purr is the same name they use for the cable that runs into your house to connect your internet. Icon or image in Greek is icon, which is just like a computer icon. The sword is Mac Air. Trying to think what other things I found that. Oh, they puts it. It's puts to the heaven. And the puts is the satellite in English. So all the words are there. Everything is set up exactly like it has it in there. I'm going to try to put a video together on all that stuff so y'all can see that, where I found all that stuff. Even the geoengineering is in Revelation. The smearing our skies with mess, that's in there too. Tobacco's in there. Trying to think what else. There was a lot of common things. I was listening to Bart. Bella was mentioning Bart. I was listening to him, and he said scholars scratch their head and try to figure out why there's so many medical terms in the New Testament, and there are a ton of them. I mean, tons of medical terms. Everybody's so quiet.
That's how, oh, I was going to say, I think that's how you can search things so well, because you have a base in a lot of different areas, like the nursing. I mean, even the Wiccan thing, you have some knowledge from that you can bring into this. And so you're coming from all different, your art history. And so you can put it all together with the research, which is amazing. I'm grateful.
Well, it's like in the Catholic Church too. They called the popes Abba, and they also called them Dons. That's why when you see the mafia movies, you'll see the Don, the Father Don. You know, Abaddon.
Yeah, yeah.
There's actually a lot of
Really?
Latin in the New Testament too.
It's no surprise that, we have a difficult time translating things, because like you told us once, they've used I think 3 different or 4 different languages in it or something like that.
It said it would
Like
cause
bits
them
and pieces.
to gnaw their tongue, and the word for tongue is language, and it means like nationality languages, So they was causing them to gnaw up the languages so that we couldn't figure these things out.
Yeah.
Hi, Melanie.
Hi, how you going? Thanks for having me up.
Oh, you're most welcome.
Thanks. I don't usually get up on lives. I have a couple of times, so I'm still a little kind of apprehensive, but yeah, it's good to be here. I have I've seen you before on Josh's lives, and I also know that Will used to study with you as well. So I've sort of seen you there before, and it was only just yesterday I can't remember what it was that triggered it, and I'm like, I need to look at her work more. And then I jumped on sort of YouTube and then followed you on Facebook and then found you on TikTok. So I agree with so much of what you say, and I just have so much respect for what you're doing, out there, and putting that truth out there. So many people are so scared and reluctant to really come out and talk about the hard truth. So I think that's just awesome what you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much.
Yeah, we greatly appreciate that.
And yeah, look, I'm totally on board. I only caught the end of what you were saying, but it really was super interesting, and I appreciate that because it sort of very nicely ties into a lot of the study that I have been doing, and especially sort of in relation to sort of Yhwh and the sort of the AI component of it. I'm not sure that this is new. I think it's just getting repackaged and reintroduced. But there's just so much to unpack, and there's so much we don't know. So it's like, trying to put, a billion puzzle pieces together. But I just think it's I'm really glad that I finally have started sort of following you.
Oh, thank you so much. I have to thank Father, though, because I don't think without him I would have seen any of this. It was like, and I'm fortunate enough. I got sick and had to quit nursing. I had what they call Job syndrome. It's an autoimmune problem, and I couldn't be around patients anymore because I could die from it. So they sent me home, and I'm lucky to have the time that most people don't have to do these things, because if you have to work a job and take care of your child and do all those things, you don't have time to research all this. So I just started, I kept asking Father, so what can I do to help? And this came in my mind, and I thought, I'm a horrible speaker. I grew up in Mississippi. My pronunciation of words is very bad, even though I can read really well. I know what it says, but pronouncing words is real hard for me. But it's like I thought, well, if he wants me to do this, I'm going to try. And I just started doing it. And, I feel like it's things people, if they had the time, they would want to know them if they had the time to do it, So I just try to share what I found, and I can condense it so they can get it in a short amount of time,
Definitely, that divine calling, and that, we get called to do these things, and you listened, which is fabulous. And that's the thing, is that we're not alone. That, we do have our Father and that divine hand there that's leading. I know that it's been the most important thing in my life. If I didn't have that, that divine hand helping me, it is about giving all glory over, because we couldn't do it. We couldn't do it on our own. I'm also someone that has been blessed enough to sort of do a lot of research myself, and see, I've known for pretty much all my life. I've got adult children, and also 13-year-old twins. I've got 4 children. 2 of them are adults, and I grew up they grew up with me preparing them, and I grew up with my mother preparing me. So I was very blessed in that way, just because I've had dreams right from when I was a small child, and just always had that intuition, that voice of, that voice of God. I don't like necessarily using the word God, but I mean the true creator when I say that. And because of that, my adult children also didn't get the jab. And my daughter couldn't go to her graduation, or couldn't go to her, well, she could go to her graduation, she couldn't go to her formal. I wasn't allowed to go to her graduation. My son lost his job, but they still stood really firm. So yeah, super proud of them.
Oh, that is awesome. I'm uploading all these too. If you miss part of it, I'm uploading them on YouTube, and that way people can watch them later. If they can't be here, if they are working or whatever.
I'll have to go through the videos on YouTube. I haven't had a chance yet, but I did see that you'd uploaded a lot from even these TikTok lives. So I'm definitely going to go through and have a good listen through them. I'm actually in the process myself because I've sort of done I do a lot of study, but I don't write anything down. I'm not very disciplined in that way. So I've read a ton of books and looked into a ton of things, and there's so much data overload. So I've been very blessed in the way that it sounds a little bit odd, but I get a tell. So I'll get like down one side of my body, I'll just get a rush of pins and needles. So I know when I'm on the right track. So I've kind of been sort of doing this right, I guess, from before social media, when the internet sort of first came on board. But obviously it's progressed and evolved and grown, and especially after the last sort of 4 or 5 years after all of, that crap happened. So now I'm in the process and I'm really being called to consolidate what I know, and instead of just having it all muddled up in my brain, to actually to get it down and put my research in a way that's sort of comprehensible for other people. So seeing what you're doing is just really inspirational, and it gives me the motivation to kind of go, oh, this is really important, and if we're called to do this, then we should really start to step up.
How I started out, I got the PowerPoint, the Microsoft PowerPoint, and I used to like to use index cards to study in nursing school and all, and so they look like index cards. So as I was studying, I'll take verses and put them on there, then go look up words, and I'll put where I looked it up on the right hand side, and compare, and then compare what it said. And I started thinking, well, why don't I just take some of these if there's something interesting and make a video out of it? And that's how I got started doing this. So I used the little index cards that were my study notes to make the videos with. Then I go back and add graphics later if I'm going to make a video out of it.
Okay, that's a good idea. That's good to know. Sometimes the hardest thing is knowing how to get started, I think. It just seems so overwhelming.
They've got easy tools on that one. It's not complicated, and I'm not real tech savvy.
I'm not tech savvy either.
Yeah.
But I think it's really great, and to see all those, the like-minded people, coming together, because, we've definitely got that calling, and, we've been, we all got that warning. This is what we were saying before. We just instinctively knew that just wasn't, a very good idea. And at the time I was we got hit really hard here in Australia. It was pretty awful. I couldn't get into most shops. We were locked out of everywhere. It got the discrimination. I've never experienced anything like it before in my life. But I was really sort of, what we call the freedom movement here, was really hard and heavy into it, and was getting kicked off Facebook constantly, and was doing a lot of research into the jab, and was speaking at protests, and I was on a couple of podcasts, and was it was really sort of taking off in that regard. And then our father just pulled me back, and I had to stop, and I really had to look within myself and do some more sort of inner work, I guess, but also being able to just see the bigger picture. I would have got lost going down that road, and I'm really glad that I didn't. And so for the last sort of 4 years, I've been very much a hermit, keeping very much to myself, and, just researching, and also just getting my own spirit right. There's a lot of conditioning that's happened to us over since we were born, and it's really difficult breaking down all of that programming and conditioning that we had. So, it's been just a very interesting path and time of me just being able to sort of, see things with a lot more clarity and dropping all of that preconceived notions that I had, because it's not easy. It can be really confronting. And I read a really, really good book called Can You Stand the Truth? The Chronicles of Man's Imprisonment, by a woman called Angelica. I can't pronounce her last name. It's Greek. And I've now read the book. Well, I read it. I got an online copy and read it twice. And now I've brought the actual book copy, and it was really confronting at first. It really rocked my equilibrium of everything that I thought that I knew. And I thought that I knew a lot, but I didn't know. I was humbled very quickly. And, it's just been a very interesting, very confronting and very liberating sort of path. So I find everyone who is being able to sort of see through the sort of such thick lies that have been happening at the moment and the deceit, I just really just applaud people. And I've got so much admiration for anyone and everyone who really, because you have to stand on your own. You have to have real courage to not go with the crowd. So I just think have just so much appreciation and respect for everyone who's going down those paths. Thank you for letting me come up here. Sorry, I feel like I've been rambling.
Oh, no,
Thank you
it's
for
okay.
coming up, Melanie.
Really appreciate your words.
Speaking. Mm-hmm.
I don't know if anybody wants to talk about this or mention, but I saw that fourth gen. She was asking if we come from the fathers. I'm trying to scroll back and find it. She said, are we Yahweh's creation or the fathers? And so we kind of were talking a little bit in the chat, but I didn't know if anybody else had something to say about that.
I think we're fathers. The reason I say that is because all of Yahweh's creations come from out of the earth and the dirt. And he always says dust to dust, earth to earth, dust to dust, And then Jesus was talking to Nicodemus. He was talking about we're born of spirit and light and spirit and water. Okay, well, a baby comes in from the womb where there's the spirit and the water. You see what I mean? And they say when a sperm fertilizes an egg, that you can literally see, they filmed it, you can literally see a spark of light come off of it. So I don't think we're from Yahweh.
Yahweh. I agree. And it makes perfect sense about the water.
I'm sure some people have read the Gnostic, kind of more Gnostic belief of essentially the demiurge, I think would be kind of connected to Yahweh. And then like all the demons, right? The 72 archons or demons or whatever. But their kind of view is that, spirit came from Father, and then our flesh, the material, came from, essentially Yahweh or the demiurge. It was like that's why I think the mother goddess is so interesting, because and like the lotus and all these different symbols, and it's like self-fertilization, and there's like this kind of weird story with like the virgin, which is the self-fertilization, and and the whole, I was, again, going back to your the video that you just released, the geography, you're talking about the phallus symbol and the fertility goddess, and it's like, well, the thing that I kind of question is like, well, what if our bodies are from the, kind of like the more evil, existence, because why would they celebrate fertility and like all the, in a sense, I feel like, what if like the flesh, they're essentially taking our spirit and our light, and they're kind of feeding on it through our fleshly body. And like, we're kind of, and I don't know, I'm not like fully, I'm just playing with ideas, but they celebrate fertility, and they celebrate all of that stuff. And I'm like, well, why do they, and then think about all these religions, right? Like the Catholic Church, you can't use birth control. It's like, okay, have all these children, have all these children. And I'm like, well, why do they want more and more children in the system? And is it because we're, feeding them? I don't know. So I don't know. Just something to think about. I don't know.
It's like when the Witch of Endor in Samuel was called, when he asked them to call Samuel back up, Saul did. It said that she saw an Elohim coming up from the earth. And then Samuel appeared from the outside the earth. And then he formed Adam from the dust of the earth. It seems to me that all of Yahweh's creations were formed from the dust of the earth. And we're like 98% water or something like that. I can't remember from science, but we have a ton of water in us. I can't remember the exact number. Yeah, Tina, and Yahweh's number is 666. I don't know if I showed y'all the slides on that, some of the 666 stuff or not. Like he takes 6 days to create the earth, and then he rests on the Sabbath. The 666. I showed you that one, the talons of bread. There was a bunch of them. Let me see, run this back, because I got some photos on that.
Is it okay if I quickly touch on what Taylor just said about the body versus the spirit?
Sure.
Thank you. I've in the past, I don't label myself anymore, but in the past I did call myself a Gnostic. So that's definitely within the Gnostic school of thought that that we are the divine spark, and that we were almost entrapped within flesh. It's really interesting because I've kind of gone backwards and forwards on that, because it's that question of, were we trapped right from the beginning, right from when sort of our divine spark and celestial man ever first come into physicality, or were we in physicality and then a fall happened? And, there's some evidence with our telomeres that our genetics have been changed and we used to live a lot longer. And, there's definitely been some genetic manipulations. So it's really difficult, because I kind of go backwards and forwards, because one part of me goes, well, they can't actually create, only really manipulate creation. So that leans me more towards the fact that the divine human was an organic creation. But in the next breath, I really do see where the Gnostic school of thought comes, and then I sort of lean also towards, well, it does say in the Gnostic text that Yaldabaoth saw celestial man before he actually created the human form, and was extremely jealous of the celestial man. So then it was like, well, were we in an etheric form? And then somehow we were dragged down in energetic density to more of the 3D sort of physicality. But, great questions, because these are things that I, really, have asked myself and really looked into, and I don't have, there's no definitive answer, but super interesting to think about, because there's definitely been something. So it's whether our flesh has been completely created by the demiurge, or whether just been manipulated by the demiurge, or whether it's sort of both, as I was saying, and it was more of, we already existed in the divine human form in the etheric realms, and then somehow got sucked down into more of this this density, which is entropy, which is, decay and death, which I'm not sure was ever part of the pristine design. But yeah, just thought I'd throw that out there.
That's interesting. But even like when you look at how he created everything in 6 days, and then on the 7th day he rests, even with the 7 seals, the 7 bowls, and the 7 trumpets, the 7th one is like a completion type thing. it's really weird. Everything's done in sixes. And like their star. You got 6 points, 6 mini triangles, and 6-sided polygon. Even their alphabet falls into that 666 thing. It matches all. Every one of them matches the stars. They wrap their thing 6 times around their hand, the phylactery belt thing, and it's the arm telf is a shin pattern, is what they say, and according to the Ashkenazi, it's a shin, which is 3 vowels put together for 666, which is considered to be Yahweh's number. That's how it goes on the arm. And when I analyzed Job 42, it says, the rabbi with my demon, he will torment you, and Eli will answer. So I don't know. But El Shaddai, Shadim is demons, and Shaddai is a singular for the Shadim. And when you look at their dictionaries, it literally says a demon, a genie, or a fiend. I think this morphs too over time. It's like they said that there it is right there, and it says that in the Hebrew letter Shin has 3 heads with which to look up the Hebrew alphabet. It's made of the letter vowels, and who have the vowel with a value of 6. The 3 vowels have a value of 666. It represents the cloven tongues of fire. And that's the same word that's used in the New Testament for cloven tongues of fire that they receive in that upper room. The letter is symbolic of the words Shaddai and Shalom. It means teeth or tooth or destroy. The secret of the Shin shimmering coal possesses an invisible flame within it that emerges and ascends from the surface of the coal, and the coal is blown upon the 3 levels of the coal. The inner flame and the outer flame correspond to the secret Kashmama, which will be explained in the next letter of the Tav. The letter Shin appears engraved on both sides of the head of the Telfin, and on the right side, and it possesses 3 heads, while on the left side it possesses 4, the 7 heads. In Kabbalah, we are taught that the 3-headed Shin is the Shin of this world, with the 4-headed Shin being the Shin of the world to come. So you have 3 heads and 7 heads for a total of 7 heads, just like we see in Revelation 12:3. Because it says, and there was 7, another sign in heaven, and lo, a great dragon having 7 heads, and then 10 horns, and upon the 7 diadems. This is the Telfin scene, specifically bound around the head, I think. And they say in Hebrew that El Shaddai can mean the demon or the Almighty. So which is it, the demon or the Almighty? Let's see.
And that's related, like that's to do with the tefillin, isn't it? That they wear on their wrists and their foreheads.
Right. Yep.
Yeah, which is the black cube. We see that everywhere. That it's also related back to Saturn, the black cube of Saturn, which they pretty much worship. And even with all the iconography that we see with all of the corporations, they all utilise it. So there's definitely something there for sure.
And I got that information from Chabad, which is their own sites for the Orthodox. So it's not like this is some hidden secret or anything. Yahweh's the so-called deity of this world. When you look at 2 Kings 19:19, and now our Lord our God, please deliver us from this hand, so that all the kingdoms of the earth may know that you are the Lord God alone. And then in Zechariah 14:9, it says, the Lord shall become king over all the earth. And on that day shall the Lord be one and his name one. So it's king of the earth. It's not talking about the entire thing. But then Jesus tells us the real Father in heaven is, that he was not of this world. He said, my kingdom is not of this world. If my kingdom were of this world, my servants would have been fighting, and that I might not be delivered over by the Jews, but my kingdom is not from this world. He said that a lot, and he said we were from below. I showed you that at the very beginning, which is kato, which means the underworld. When you say kato cosmos like he did, you're talking about the underworld in Greek language. Interesting enough, we're seeing these cube things all over the place, with just like they wear on their head. You see them in various things, like one of those is in Santa Ana, Manhattan, Australia, Denmark. They're cropping up everywhere. And we even see them in the movies, like Chad Barker's Hellraiser.
And also at Mecca as well, when you see when they go do the word's escaping me, but they all go there and then they all walk around the black cube as well. It's just everywhere.
Right. It is. Now we're seeing it on their computer case. Uh-oh. Sorry, I hit the thing. The new computer cases are a cube. And look how similar the mouse is to wrapping that thing on your arm. And we sit.
It all relates back to what you were saying about the AI as well.
We're focusing on the cube every day. We're living it. We don't think about it, but we are. www in Hebrew is 666.
And also, too, the carbon atom is 6 protons, 6 neutrons, and 6 electrons.
Right.
Yeah, so it's all related. And really interestingly, Saturn has a hexagon on it sitting right on their North Pole. And it all relates back to Saturn as well. And when you read the Gnostic texts, it's described, the demiurge is actually described as the zodiac, as actually the planets. So it's super interesting.
That's where I found that stuff on their sigil for El Shaddai. He has horns. And Solomon's seal of the El Shaddai is used in magic for the holder to gain all that it wishes. It's like a thing for gaining material goods. But when you look at Morphic's dictionary, it says the first definition is the Almighty. The second definition is demonic, mischievous, deceitful, devilish, and malicious. And El can mean either thee or God. And the Shaddai means destroyer. So it's like, the destroyer. Or the demon. Pretty crazy. And see, there's the root word, Shaddai, and they've got it to deal violently with, to despoil, devastate, ruin, destroy, or spoil, when you use it as a verb. To assault, devastate, to be devastated, and that's from Brown's Driver Briggs lexicon. Trying to think what else I hadn't showed y'all. I found this in their book that Yahweh's number is literally 666. That's from the Kabbalah stuff. And it's just like Deuteronomy 6:8 says, and you shall bind them as a sign on your hand, and they shall be as frontlets between your eyes. Just like the Revelation, to be marked on the right hand and in the forehead. Moses, and I beheld another beast coming up out of the earth, and he had 2 horns like a lamb, and he spake like a dragon. And Jesus told us in John 5:45, don't think I accuse you to the Father. There is one that accuses you, Moses in whom you trust. And according to Melvin Paradis' book, Moses is mentioned exactly 666 times in the Old Testament. But see, they even depict him at the Vatican. This is a picture from the Vatican. It's got a book, the Torah tablets in his hand. Then he's got the horns. And where it says that his face shone, that's Karen is the name of that. And it's actually, he grew horns. And the people were afraid of him, and he covered his face because they were scared of him then. I think what else. Let's see. Yeah, there it is. It's in Exodus 34:30 is where I'm getting that from. And their menorah even has like 7 heads. And they found an ancient one up in Siberia that looks like a man, a menorah man, and it had looked like Yahweh's name even carved next to it. Interesting stuff.
Vita, nice to have you again.
What's that?
Hello.
Hey.
How are
Hey,
you?
Rita, how you doing?
I'm good.
I'm so glad to see you here tonight.
Oh, I missed Saturday, but I have to be on every day. I love your video.
I so much enjoyed everything you said the other night. That was so nice.
Oh, thank you, thank you.
It's great.
Well, because everything makes sense, right? And I know Abba wants us to know the truth, so I'm just so happy.
Well, you've been a very pleasant soul. You've been a great guest. We love hearing you talk.
Oh, I love hearing you guys talk too.
Is that your dog playing with that toy?
Yes, sorry,
Someone's
it's a little
having fun.
noisy.
My dog's inside
At
playing with a
nighttime,
toy.
he likes to do the zoomies right now. Every time we go, Mrs. walks. Yeah. I'm gonna mute it off because he's a little bit wild right now.
That's all right.
Okay. Okay. Bye, guys. I'll be on.
Okay, we love you, Vita.
Okay, love you too.
Hopefully we can get everybody that's coming up and talking to come join us on the Discord channel so they can visit there too and see all the research cards. I hope so. If y'all help me do that, because I'm so tech stupid, you know.
Where would I find a link to the Discord?
If you just Google Discord, it'll come up on the top, and one of us can. Aline, can you send Melanie like a link? You know how to do that from here, don't you?
Yes. Not from here. Well, yeah, I can. Yes, I can do it from here.
Yeah, that
but
way
yeah,
she
anyone
can
that
link
even wants,
directly
like,
to the channel that way.
Right, and if anyone wants, copies of or like access to the PDFs of all of the cards, you can private message me as well, and I can send you the link to the OneDrive that has it all on there, so you actually get to scroll through and read the stuff at your own leisure. So you can do that as well if you like. But I'll send you a link, Melanie.
Thank you so much. I'd appreciate that. And I really appreciate how freely that you guys share and there's no gatekeeping of information.
I think that in the past, and this is why we can see with all of the occulted knowledge and the secret societies and everything's being kept secret. And I think it's well enough time that everything's just laid out on the table. So, yeah, I really appreciate that. Thank you.
That's right. No
Vita wants
secrets here.
one too, Aline. Did you
I'll
see
send
that?
it to her.
Yeah, did you see that
I'll
in
send
chat?
it to her as well.
We'll
Yeah,
get you one
okay.
too, Vita.
Hey, good evening, everyone.
Hey, Vic. How's it going?
How's it? Hey, great. Just sitting here listening and soaking it all in. I had a little question. This kind of came at me today, this thing about, and I wanted to ask you, artist, about this maybe, but this thing about the Old Testament being written after the New Testament. Do you know anything about that? And if I'm hijacking anything or
No,
steering away from the topic.
prior to the Dead Sea Scrolls, that was a legitimate statement, and I think the Dead Sea Scrolls are not valid. I think they're a fake. You know.
I do too. I think they're illegitimate. They seem too hokey.
They seemed a little too. It seemed a little too perfect. How do I describe it?
Yeah, what's a
the
shepherd
way
boy doing
they
in the
were-
middle of the nowhere
Yes.
with no grass or nothing to feed all his? Yeah, I mean, come
Yeah,
on.
yes, and
Throws a
and
little
throws a
rock.
rock
The
into the
story
side.
sounds like some Indiana Jones something. Eh?
Yes,
Go
like
ahead,
something out
sorry.
of a Hollywood movie, and I question the legitimacy of them also, but there's a lot of talk now about the Old Testament actually being written after the fact, and it kind of fits in with what you were just discussing, almost, if you think about it. But yeah, I'm beginning to wonder about that, but I don't want to go down a rabbit hole that I don't belong. I mean,
Well, when you look at that picture, that's where they say the Isaiah scroll came from. What were those sheep eating? And
Yeah, what were you
what
doing
were
there
those
as a
shepherds
shepherd?
doing up on those jagged rocks? And what kind of throwing arm did they have to hit a jar in that cave?
well, and to even hear it,
Yeah,
you know,
Your
yeah,
league
the whole thing.
baseball player throw.
I mean that's just insanity. When you look
Yes,
at it, it's
was-
like, and all the caves are like that. I checked them all; they're all like that.
Hmm.
Because they found other scrolls, they say, from other caves, but they all look like that. There's not one scrap of anything for a shepherd boy to be feeding their sheep out there.
no reason at all to even anybody to even be out there ever.
To be on those hills with their flock, I wouldn't.
Well,
And then every
yeah.
story says, just like Indiana Jones. I'm like, well, Indiana Jones is a fake tale. Yeah. It's like, I Googled that and I got 7 million hits back.
Wow.
That's how many times they mention it with the Dead Sea Scrolls in articles, like in the Jerusalem Post, things like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I was like, it's like it's in our face. And they're on the wrong kind of
Right, they're telling you
material.
the truth.
There's a good guy
I'm
that's
sorry.
there's a guy that has a video on it, and he says they're even on the wrong kind of material for that time period. The wrong, it's like an animal skin, and they weren't using that, where they were using something else,
Mm-hmm.
which is real interesting.
To me, it was kind of like prior to that, or around that all that shroud rigmarole that came down the pipe, the shroud of Turan. I never really bit on that either. Now, if it is, it was from JC, I think, and but I got the same vibe on the shroud as I did the Dead Sea Scrolls.
Yeah, it bothers
And
me too.
Yeah,
But
I mean,
see that date on that newspaper, 1949? Dr. Zetlin from Dropsy College, he split with the other scholars on this because he said there was not enough proof. And he was one of the main he was a massive Second Temple scholar. I thought I had that on
Wow.
here too. Yeah, he was an American Jewish historian, a Talmudic scholar at his time, and the world's leading authority on Second Commonwealth, which was also known as the Second Temple period. And he thinks they were a fake, but they never mention that anymore now.
No,
You,
it doesn't fit he didn't fit what the narrative was trying to put out, and sort of like all that COVID stuff, those few doctors that tried to stand against it. I mean, they were just laughed at. It's always the same thing. It's this narrative they're trying to cram down our throats, and to me, and well, but and I'm sorry I came in late. But what was the topic tonight?
I just finished up those last slides on the 40 points, how Yahweh matches the dragon.
Right. No doubt.
So that'll be
There's
the
no
complete
doubt,
set
yeah.
of them. If everybody wants to watch them, at the beginning of each one of the segments of each night, I've covered all the ways that Yahweh matches the dragon in Revelation, and that way you can go back and look at them. And
Now that's on your YouTube channel. I think I know you put it in the Discord room, but is that also on your YouTube channel?
yeah, I've been uploading them
Yes,
every
she's been
day to the YouTube channel so they can watch them if they want to. I put them under TikTok live videos on a playlist, and they'll
Okay.
play one right
Okay.
behind another,
Oh, I got you. Okay, great. I'm gonna have to check that out. I'm still trying to get through your Matthew video.
6
So-
hours, I know.
Oh, I know, but I think what you told me from the get-go is Vic, just kind of do what you do bite size. This is a lot to take in, and I mean, I always, even when I was in the Christian, into the Christian church thing and Baptist and all of that, the Old Testament, the dualistic presentation, this good and bad. God is both good and bad. Well, I've come to believe that Father is nothing but pure love. I don't think he's, and how could you be both? Right? So I never bit heavily on the OT. It just reeked of confusion. But just my 2 cents worth.
He said God is light and in him is no darkness. And it's
Yes.
like,
Yeah.
that pretty much
Yes.
says it all. It's like,
And Jesus, look at everything was just pure love. I never really, I mean, when you break some of this down, I know some of the things in the New Testament are JC and some of them are Jesus Barabbas. And, but when I break it down and know I'm reading the words of the real Jesus, it's nothing but pure love. You don't see any of this blow torches of hell if you slip up, and we're going to kill your firstborn and this kind of thing. I never ever got that vibe off of him. Right.
Sorry.
Did I say on live?
Well,
Yeah,
just
I'm live.
don't say the K word on a live.
Yeah. Oh, these newbies.
I totally agree. I've absolutely never got that vibe either. And I remember one time I grew up in a very, really Christian family. And I was at my grandparents' house, and my my grandfather, did Bible study every single night. And, my pa and my nan and my mum and would sort of sit around the dining table and would be doing their Bible study. And right from when I can ever remember, I was always sort of, really, connected and, felt and could hear that that inner voice speaking within me. But the very first time I really ever remember hearing sort of our Father speak to me in, that very clear terms was I was 7 years old and they were doing a Bible study about when Abraham sacrificed Isaac, and clear as day, that inner voice just so loudly spoke to me and said, "That is not me. Do not believe that. That is not me." And I just remember being a little girl and just going, "Okay, Father, okay." And from then on, my whole life, I just always knew that, that there was something very wrong with the Old Testament. I got kicked out of religious classes when I was quite young and they wouldn't let me back in because I was constantly questioning. But absolutely, that, it's just that inner knowing.
And you think
Agree
about
with
the
you too.
works, Vic, it's like he said, the works I do, they speak of the Father. And it's like the works he was doing was healing, raising the dead, feeding the people, giving Father's message to him and all that. And he was doing all the works he did on the Sabbath. That's why they wanted to unalive him. It's like, and then Yahweh says, "Is a man not blind, deaf, or mute? Have I not done it?" Yahweh took credit for all that. And Yahweh shoved all those people that had defects, they were blind, they were mute, they had a defective arm or anything like that. He wouldn't even let them get near his temple, or he didn't want them anywhere near him. It's just total polar opposite.
Total
But
polar
people don't
opposite.
see it.
I do. I find it interesting as I come into this room, something that I consistently hear amongst us is, and Melanie just brought it up, this feeling fathers as a young person, or I started feeling his draw, his soft voice speaking to me as a little 13-year-old fella. I began to, and I don't know, I just find it, I hear this a lot, and I don't want to get spooky or, well, y'all gonna think I'm speaking in tongues or something. But am I the only one that kind of picks up on that? And now I know not everybody has experienced Father this way, but I find it interesting. Again, tonight, I hear this young lady referencing that. It's very intriguing because I've had a similar experiences, and I think even you, Galanon, mentioned similar. I don't want to say audible voices. I don't like that, but a very unique draw and something going on inside of me that I noticed not everybody was experiencing, and I dare to even bring it up in here because for fear of having, but I think that's pretty cool to hear that there, Melanie. Thank you. But yeah, it's awesome topic.
Well, Clay was talking the other day, when last night we were all talking in just regular Discord chat about hope. And this is our hope. This is what we live for Father and for Jesus, and He is our door. He's our gate. It's like He's our way out of this trap that we're in. Without Him, we got nothing. It's like He's everything. And I know there's a lot of differing views on whether He's the Father, He's not the Father. That we may differ on that because I think he takes time to reveal everything, but he's the door. Without him, even if you get to the end and you unalive and you have to stay here, it's like that door will open for you immediately and you will not have to stay here. He said you will pass directly from death to life. There won't be no waiting. And I see all these preachers saying they're going to wait in the ground and you're going to be there till the judgment day and all this. I don't believe that. I do not believe that. He's going to be standing there waiting for you with his arms open.
It does my soul good to hear that, because in the Christianity movement, they have this thing called where you got to get saved, where you're going to go to a really bad place. And I think we all want to hear something.
Baptized.
Yeah, whatever, and speak in tongues. And I mean, the list goes on. And if you don't give enough money, you're going to lose it. And if you, look at something inappropriate or drink too much beer or something, you're going to lose it and you're going to have to go, all this stuff. But I need hope that I'm going to escape, that this realm we're in, when it's over, there's hope that we're going to be in his arms forever. And but as far as having some kind of religious experience at a church altar or whatever, however all this takes place, I still was never able to figure out the mechanics behind it all. I mean, you talk to these Christians and they have no doubt in their minds that they're going to heaven when they die. And you step back and you look at what they really believe, and I'm like, ooh, I wouldn't ever want any harm to come to anybody. But
yeah, I know. He said that he goes to prepare a place for us, and he will come back and receive us to himself, so that where he is, we can be there also. That's pretty clear,
It's pretty clear. Yeah, it's beautiful. Mm-hmm.
We got people leaving. I guess we're running late. What time is it? It's 9.
That's okay. You still got 22 people out there.
Yeah. Does anybody else have any questions or anything?
Can I ask a question?
Sure, Bea.
I know when I was at the CFM call 2 years ago when I left, they believed in deliverance. And I had a weird feeling about deliverance, like when they put your hand on you and all that kind of stuff. They were saying that you need deliverance to be closer to Jesus. And they also were saying that you have to repent, for the kingdom of God is at hand. Like, you have to be baptized. And I didn't understand, because Jesus is our baptism. Like, I was just a little confused about the deliverance, because if we truly believe in Jesus, we don't really need deliverance.
I agree with you, Bea. I don't think that we need deliverance,
Yeah, because soon as when we believe in Jesus,
he said all those that believed in his name would have eternal life. I mean,
yes.
that was the promise,
Yeah, because there's so many people are so into this deliverance and casting out demons, because they were saying that if you don't if you don't get deliverance, you have multiple demons. And I'm like, how does that work? Because it's just so weird, because when I was there, I seen people getting deliverance, falling back, and supposedly manifesting. I was kind of scratching my head because I didn't do any of that. I was just there. I was kind of scared because it was just weird. And then they were speaking in tongues and all that weird stuff. Like, I know that Jesus says on the last days he'll pour and will speak in tongues. Or did Jesus did not say that?
I
think that
certainly
was
don't. Sorry.
I think that was the Old Testament God that said that. In the last day, He would pour out His Spirit, and the sons and daughters would prophesy. I might be wrong.
Yeah. Yeah, because then I remember this pastor was saying drunken spirits is not from God. And then when you speak in tongues, it's from God. I don't know about those things, but I know the deliverance is kind of false, because if you truly believe, you're new in Jesus, right?
Right. Yeah. It's
Absolutely.
automatic, because the guy on the cross was not baptized or anything. He said, "This day you'll be with me in paradise."
Yes,
You know.
yes.
We certainly don't need deliverance from within churchianity and a priest or a pastor or some just man doing it for us. So I don't think that was ever what was meant by it. But look, what you're saying, is it Vida? I
Yes.
completely agree, because I experienced that as well as a child, and my grandparents were, I just want to be really mindful when I say this sorts of thing, because I'm not trying to step all over anyone's belief system, and I know people hold it very dear, so I say it with, I mean, trepidation. I have, respect for what people believe, but I also think that, there comes a time where we have to also speak in truth as well. And
Yes.
I grew up within the Pentecostal church and the Assemblies of God, and I went to their revivals, and I saw what was going on. And even as a child, I was like, what on earth is going on here? There was holy laughter. There was people on the ground thrashing
Yes.
around. People were getting slain in the spirit. My own grandmother, and people would be shouting and speaking in tongues. And my own grandmother used to do it. And I used to always ask to go along, but I don't mean to sound disrespectful, but for me, it was more that I knew it wasn't real, but I was just intrigued by the circus of it all and the theatrics of it. I was like, my goodness, how can these adults think that this is coming from our true creator? Like, I just was totally intrigued and baffled by it. And many years later, when I was a young teenager, I sat my nan down, and my nan and I were very close. And I said to her, honestly, Nan, I said, tell me the truth. I said, this speaking in tongues, I said, is like, really, Nan, like, come on, like, is that really legit? And she said to me, she looked at me and she said, no, she said, I'm just making it up. I just do it.
I knew
and
it, yes.
I know. And I said to her, Nan, I said, why are you doing that for? And she said, because, she said, the pressure in the church. She said, if we don't do it, we're told that we don't have the Holy Spirit. So I felt like I had to do it. And I was just like, oh, my goodness, Nan. Like, that's so silly.
That's crazy,
ridiculous.
man.
But she
That's
did
really
it.
wild.
Yeah, I kind of figured, because they're just mumbling, and like, if they were like, yeah, it's just weird, because like, there are different mumbles, and like, it's so weird, very weird. So I was just like, and then one of my ex-friend want to study how to speak in tongues, and I'm like, how do you study in speaking tongues? That just doesn't make any sense. Like, yeah, it's sad.
It is sad. It's really sad, because they're well-meaning. And that's the saddest part about it. And I know that my mum realised very quickly, and she moved away from the church because they were slaying people in the spirit. And the pastor was literally pushed her over. like so forcefully, because she wouldn't go down at first, and then he literally put his hands on her and pushed her over. It was just not very good at all. The other thing as well is that, look, I am certainly not a new ager, but there are some concepts within it, like with everything, there is some truth. And everything is energy. We can feel things. We have more than 5 senses. So there are things that we can energetically pick up and feel. And that's what I remember as a kid. And I've always been someone who's very sensitive to the energies around me. And the energy felt very off, but it all had a very similar energy signature when I'd see it. Like there was something moving there. There was some sort of something happening in a metaphysical kind of way, but it certainly wasn't coming from our Father. It certainly wasn't coming from our true Creator. And it's really, really interesting. And again, I don't want to, shit all over anyone's belief system, but from what I've experienced with that energy signature, when I see people doing something very similar with the Kundalini energy and they're jerking around and all that stuff is happening, it feels the same to me. It holds a very similar type of energy signature.
It's kind of like the same as like a native frenzy worship around a fire or something. It's like they were almost possessed to the point that they're, that they don't even know what they're doing. And I watched it on YouTube because I wasn't Pentecostal, and I thought to myself, that's fake as the day is long. I was just sitting there going, that is fake. It's like, and I don't like anybody touching me unless I initiate the touching. Like if I hug you, that's fine, out of love and stuff, but I don't want somebody doing a directed energy thing toward me. Unless I ask for it, I know
agree.
that sounds weird, but after being in Wicca, a lot of things can be passed over from one person to the other with that hand.
No, it can. It can. Yes. And it all comes down to that energy. Absolutely. Yeah. And that's why we were talking before about that voice of our Father, that guiding sort of voice, that leading hand that helps us. Over my years, because I have been someone that sees through the veil in some ways since I was a kid, I've had quite a few experiences. So there've been times where I would look at different things, or I'd go on YouTube and it would be a meditation or it would be a particular thing, and my internal voice, like there'd just be this stop, turn it off, and I listen every time. And so I've sort of protected my energy field a lot over the years, and I've never just jumped into anything because I understand that stuff can cross over. We have to be very careful what we allow into ourselves and into our energy fields.
Yeah, even
and they don't see a lot of times they don't correlate stuff like that. It's like when you see the Orthodox at that wall making the motions while they pray and they read and they do it on YouTube and stuff, they're actually building energy, because music and sound is one of the most powerful things there are. And you can build what's called in Wicca a cone of power. And they use it sometimes for healing. And the rocking back and forth is it's pretty creepy, because in their thing, they have a thing where it says that it's actually, they're copulating with the Holy Spirit, the Shanika. And it's like, I'm thinking to myself, what? It's like, because I knew it. Yeah, the sing song, you'll hear pastors do it, and they'll talk in a way where they're making like they're building energy. And one of the most creepy things I ever went to, when I became a believer, I was looking for a church because I thought you should go to church, And I found a lot of things that I did not like about the church system. But I visited different kinds of worship just to see what they were. And I went downstairs. The young people had invited me to come to their young person's worship, like young adults. And I thought, cool, I'll go see what the young adults do, I go downstairs, and they were doing this heavy metal stuff, and they were calling in the spirit, bust the walls down. I mean, the words were like, and I could feel the energy in that room, and I was like, oh my smackers, I had to get out of there. I got up and left. Because I don't know what they were calling, but it was not anything that was good. I got up and I left, and I'm not being an old fuddy-duddy. You know, it really legitimately felt weird to me. It did not feel right. And I kept thinking about all I had learned when I was in the Wicca, and I was like, they're building up some energy, but it's not for a good thing. And
Hi, everyone.
hey, how are you doing tonight, Clay?
I'm driving again, but
oh boy, bless your heart.
I need to tell you, I met the founder of the Assembly of God. I'll tell you in Discord, but
Yeah, how was
he
that?
was a mobster from New York, so there's a story there. He was a bad person, but you know, I was just in shock. Like, this is the founder of Pentecostal Assembly of God Church. Wow. But
oh, that's wild.
No surprise.
Is Melanie here, Rebecca B? Should she have that channel on YouTube?
I don't know.
Sorry, what was that?
Who is the Australian?
That would be me.
Do you have a YouTube channel?
No, I don't. It must just be the similar Aussie accent.
Not just accent, but some of the topics you cover too. But
what's her name? I'll check her out. Who is it?
Rebecca B. I was going to say, if it's Rebecca,
I've watched some of her stuff. Yeah,
she was very kind to me. So, I emailed her. She was very nice. So,
actually, Golden sent one of her videos to her. Artist sent one of her videos to her, to Rebecca B. And we thought maybe she would kind of see what we're seeing, but I don't think she is.
You know, I wanted to, something I'm noticing in Christian leaders is their involvement in a lot of these secret societies, Freemasons, Shriners. I live in a small community up here. I recently discovered that how heavily these churches are. And I mean, Clay mentioned the mafia there. And it's no surprise to me because I see a similar thing where I live. And wow, when you understand what some of these, how can you, and I know they're into the JC anyhow, but it's, I could never be a part of this and try to say that I love Jesus. It's I see a lot of that now. Interesting though, Clay, that you said that head of the mafia. No surprise. But I don't want to be. I don't want to rail anybody because I remember a day when I was. My son could tell you. So I mean, I think we're all there, and we come out of it as we seek the truth, and it's revealed to us. I think the only deliverance I need is from the lies and deceit of Yahweh.
Oh, that's right.
Mm-hmm.
Because it goes so deep, it gets so ingrained in these people that they can't get out of it. They can't see anything, and that's scary. But I mean, I can't say much because I was in their shoes. I had to go through a lot of these things to see what I see now. I just pray that these people that are in these Hebrew roots and Torah observance, people that are really trying to get to that Yahweh thing, it's like it's bad. It's bad. Wake up. No, wake yourself up. Hopefully they will, but I don't know. We'll see what happens. I just I don't want to see anybody go through anything negative.
And so, I think it might have been Melaine or Vita here mentioned, and I'm not New Age, but this energy thing. When I used to go to these meetings on Sunday morning at church or whatever, I always came out, I felt so drained and like there was an energy zap or something was pulled out of me, and I mean, you're not doing anything physical, you're sitting there listening to something for a couple hours and then you go home. Why that's nothing physical or anything, but I always found myself, even as a young man, having to go take a nap because I felt so drained from this, going to this place and interacting with, and now I see it. Now I understand it clearly, but I don't know. There ain't a New Age bone in my body, but I think there could be something to that maybe, but interesting point there though.
You know what? When I was there 2 years ago, it was kind of slowly killing me, and I didn't know. When I started going there, at first, like, you know, when you're on YouTube, it sounds good, it sounds perfect, but when you actually go there and you spend time, you think it's okay, but after a while, you feel something off. And then all of a suddenly, I felt weak. I didn't want to do anything. And then I had cancer. And then when I stopped going to church, and then I went back, I've been seeing some weird stuff. And then I heard about the sexual abuse. And then I stopped going for 2 years. No, I stopped going when I had cancer 2 years ago. I stopped. And then I just felt peace. I felt my energy coming back. I felt me again. When I was finishing chemo, I felt me again. And then I started seeing my friends who, well, one of them was part of CFM, but two of them is with them. So I went to go see them Saturday. And I was, because we had a huge fight about a year ago. And then we started talking about forgiveness. I forgive you. We forgive each other. And then we started talking about the Old Testament. And then I told her, the Old Testament is based on the devil, Yahweh. She's like, no, 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 no. And then you just felt bad energy all over again. And I started actually crying. I wanted to leave, but I kind of got stuck, because I didn't want to leave there with anything bad. So I just wanted to talk it out and then forgive each other, and we part ways. And when I came back, I just felt off. Like I wanted to sleep. I just didn't really want to talk to anybody, because she was kind of provoking me, saying I was angry. And I wasn't angry. I was just like, well, this is what the Bible says. And she was poking me. That's why I started crying. And you could see the smile in her face, that it was scary. So that's why I wanted to leave. And so then I'm just going to stay, tell them, my peace, I love them. And then I left. So that's, I agree with you. You feel weak after. You feel like you're drained. You get sick, and I kind of don't want to really see them because I don't want to feel that way again.
You're doing
Yeah,
the right thing.
I do too. And no, I know exactly what you're saying. And it's my experience too. Uh, that's interesting to hear you say that, though, because just exhausted.
Yeah, it is.
And
Yeah.
they're pulling something out of me, and I don't want to. I don't know about the energy thing so much, but feel tired and drained. And my wife and I just recently left our little Baptist church, and I I gotta tell you, I haven't felt this good in a long time.
Yes.
That place was really pulling me down. And well, I don't want this to be about bashing anybody. I don't. But for just putting this behind us has been such a relief, and I can feel
Yes.
some energy and youth and vibrance coming back into me already. Before on Mondays, I would just say to my wife, honey, because I'm always doing something, working on my antique car, or working on the farm here. Or I'm always doing something. But on Mondays, I said, I don't know what's wrong, dear. I just have no energy. And today, I felt so good today. I said, we went on, what would you call that? A spontaneous kind of a joyride. I mean, we just hopped in the truck and we didn't even know where we were going. And we had an absolute ball. Whereas a month ago, I sat there and, veg out. I'd read or something because I had no energy. But today, I just putting that behind me.
That's
And,
great.
oh, we had a
That's
ball. We
best.
went up to, I don't want to talk about that, but it was very spontaneous. And she was like, it's good to have you back, Victor. And I told her, I said, I feel great today. The past year I've been having all these energy problems. I'm like, I have no energy. And I just wonder if there's something demonic going on down there where they're sucking the life out of you or something. I don't know anything about any of that stuff, but other than what I've experienced with it, what Vita just said here, and Melanie also a little bit ago, maybe there's something more to it than we always seem to get off topic. And I'm the one that takes us there, so I'm gonna.
It's okay. It's okay. We're listening. We're listening. If you're here to talk, just say what you got to say.
Yeah, maybe it's something that needs to come out on the table, because there could be somebody in this room that's experiencing the same thing, and I don't. And you may not realize it, but now, artist, you had experience with Wiccan and all of that. Were they into any of that kind of power draining? No, yeah, you just mentioned something there, huh?
Yeah, they did a lot of power work. They wanted to build power and control things and do healings and all kinds of stuff. And they even teach how to build power and stuff like that. How to manipulate and control. And but it's in most circles it was a positive thing. It wasn't like they were trying to do anything evil or hurt anybody or anything like that. It was like, so and so sick, we need to do a healing, or raise some positive energy tonight, that kind of thing. They weren't trying to do anything in a negative. I wasn't in that kind of group. I wouldn't have been, because I don't approve with doing dark, negative things.
You were a good witch, not a bad
Yeah, they do
witch.
kind of divide it like that. There
Yeah,
are
I
groups that
don't.
do the dark stuff, but I wasn't a part of one of those. But
I watched too much Wizard of Oz when I was younger.
well,
But
you can see it. I mean,
yes, oh, I see all this stuff in Hollywood now in the music. My wife and I tried one of these. What mega church or master church?
oh yeah, those
What do
huge
you?
ones.
Yes, went back when we lived near Raleigh, in North Carolina, and oh my, the music uh, in there. I mean, this band that they had up there. I was impressed. They didn't miss a lick, and I'll tell you, I hate to say it, it really hops you up. And I got sucked into that too. Uh,
Yeah,
and
unfortunately, music does a lot for people. It's just all
yeah,
used for bad, mostly.
but I never, it didn't work out for me. In order to get the Holy Ghost going, they would just turn the volume up a little bit. And it got so loud in there, I said, dear, I told my wife, I says, I can't do this anymore. My heart's palpitating. It's just, my days of rock concerts are over here. And
You can feel that vibration in your chest when it gets like that.
yeah, that bass that with them subwoofers up there and all
Yep,
that stuff, it was
yep.
just penetrating right through me. And I just, for health reasons, I used to have this thing called AFib, and I had to, and certain things would trigger it. And then, of course, um,
Me
Father took
telling you
that
to
away.
get to work.
But Father took that away from me, and um, wow, that's another story. And it was no, I didn't go down somewhere and get slapped on the head and delivered, and it wasn't like that. But and of course, I want to say I started taking care of my. Uh, I changed some eating habits. I lost about 20 pounds. I mean, my nephews were calling me Uncle Thick when it's Uncle Vic.
Uncle Thick.
So I had my part in it, I believe. And but I think he's fully able to touch us with healing, but not this thing where you walk down an aisle and somebody slap you in the head and you're slayed up and slain in the whatever Vita called it there, or no, I think it was the other young lady there, Melanie, but I believe Father, I believe in his healing touch. I've seen it, and so. And
and even when I presented you with a lot of the things that we're talking about now, I know it was hard for you. I know that these things were very alien to you. They're very absurd. And I appreciate you for listening and taking the time to just say, hold on, give me a second. Okay, well, let me think about it. Let me research. Let me show me this, show me that. It's amazing to see. Because this is an actual physical transformation of a person that I've seen in real life, where you've done a total 180, and it's been amazing to watch and see. I'm so glad you're here on the panel. I'm so glad you're even talking about it.
Well,
It's
I'll say
very motivational.
For those of you who don't know, child of Abba is my son, and I'm his dad. So just to clear that up, I think it's pretty cool that my son showed me this thing about Yahweh.
That is neat.
I
That was
cared
the
about
first
you.
thing
I
I saw.
loved you. I wanted you to see it.
He would put
I-
stuff up on his Facebook page, and I was
People
kind of
attack
like,
me.
yeah. We were all
That's
like,
so awesome. That's awesome.
were-
That's great. And to see
my
a
wife,
father and son up here on the panel, I just think that's just fabulous.
thank you.
Yeah, it's
Well, I
just
will
we've been
tell
through
you,
a lot. We've been through a lot. I took care
Uh,
of him for many years. He lived with me. We lived like we had nothing. We lived in my
I was-
junkyard lot. We were
Yes,
just
I
always
was-
trying to listen to Father, but when I started to get into deeper things, he wasn't ready yet at that time. And I think you're crazy. Oh, I think this, and I was like, okay, we took a break from talking a little bit there, but then it was
Oh,
one
we
night.
had
It
to.
was
When you started with Yahweh is the devil, I looked at, I'm remarried. I looked at my wife and I said, he's on drugs. The boy is on drugs. That's all. And we went, but Father was in me. I believe this, and it started ringing true. And he would put things up on his Facebook page, and I was looking at it, not telling anybody, but on the down low, I was checking out these videos he was sharing, and that's where I got turned on to Artist's YouTube channel. Started listening to some of her stuff, and I'm like,
right.
and yeah. So usually I think it's the other way around, right, son? Where I'm
Yeah.
supposed to be the one teaching you these things, but
Well, you always taught me a lot of things.
well, thank you.
taught
But
me a lot of
this has
things.
been, this has really been an eye opener, and now I see the duality in Satan and how he operates. But I think for me, the start of it all was recognizing that, who the God of the Old Testament really was and is, and it's not our Heavenly Father at all. And
I had
so
to call him. I had this overwhelming feeling one night, and
Yeah.
it was almost like 1 a.m. I hadn't talked to my dad in
1:43 to be
years.
exact.
Yeah. And I
1:43
hadn't
a.m.
talked to him in a while because I knew he felt some way about things I'd been saying, but I was like, now's now. I got to do it.
Oh, I figured I was going to have to go bail him out of jail or something.
Yeah, I was calling him. I called him late at night. He probably thought I was in trouble.
Yeah, that calling late night, apparently,
No.
scares you.
No, I mean, I was just sitting there. I was sitting on my porch, and I'm like, I got this overwhelming feeling. I'm like, I got to call him. Now's the time. He's going to receive it. He's going to hear me. And I was like, I don't care if it's 1 in something in the morning. And I just called
Your
him, and I said,
timing
hey,
couldn't
Dad,
have
I
been
got to
more
tell you things.
perfect. Your timing couldn't have been
I
more
just
perfect.
knew. I just knew.
Well,
I was like, I
I
have to
say
tell you
this.
something.
A week before that phone call, and we hadn't spoken in quite some time.
Years.
son.
Years.
Yeah.
Years.
Yeah, I
Many
said when
years.
he went into that Yahweh is the devil. I mean, I was cool with shutting things down with him because this is just not going. But at any rate,
It was a lot. It was a lot.
that's not what this topic is tonight. So, I'd make a long story short, the week prior to him calling me, I knew Father was getting ready to reveal a new truth to me. Now, so I'm retired and I'm really in touch with who I am as a person now. I don't have all the distractions that I used to have in my career, and I'm really in touch with his moving in my life. And even Julie knew. She asked me what's going on. I says, well, you know what? Through a bunch of circumstances going on, I said he's getting ready to show me a new truth.
At 1:43 in the morning.
And 1:43 in the morning, it came. So
I
I mean,
called
I
him. I
just,
called him and I said, I have to tell you something, Dad. Please
I
listen
mean,
to me,
can that
please.
be a coincidence or what? I mean, so
Well, and
it
you even
is,
said it to me. You even said you were like, I've been ready for this. I've been ready for this. What is it? Tell
yes,
me, please. You know, you were so
yes,
receptive, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna pour it all out to you. I mean, that was the most amazing thing that's ever happened in my whole life. I've never had an interaction like that, and because
it's
I'm never
beautiful.
just gonna be like, oh, in the middle of the night, like, oh, I'm not sleeping, and let me call my dad that I haven't talked to in several years. Uh, and I'm gonna show you some profound thing that I've been thinking about and researching, and like, let's talk about it. I'm very
Well, and
appreciative of you for you listening, and it's so great to have you here on the panel and have you talking about
thanks,
it.
thanks.
I'm
It's
and I've seen massive transformation, so that's also
so
just a
maybe
testament to
those
the whole
here,
thing.
and I want to say a little bit on my background, and Nathan knows this. I went to seminary. I have a bachelor's degree in pastoral theology. And I was a pastor for 5 6 years, and I mean started a church and everything. So I have run the gamut in this Christianity thing. I can speak from the corner of ultimate experience. I know to a T what's going on in Christianity. I know, and there's nothing
Angry
new for
Baptist
me.
preacher.
Baptist.
Yeah.
Uh, I was one of those hellfire and damnation
Oh,
ones.
you were scaring me when I was a child. I was like, goodness, my dad thinks this. I'm like, what's going on? I felt things even when I was young.
And
You know, there's weird things about when I was little and things, just the lessons. Because I remember you used to walk through the woods and that property that we had, and you would take the time
oh,
and you try to walk through nature, and you would say, "Oh, we got to respect nature. Do this. Don't harm nature. Don't harm." You got on me bad one time for harming a turtle because I was just a little deviant POS. And
mm,
that stuck with me into my adult lifetime, even so, because I was like, gosh, like I still to this day feel bad about harming the turtle. He said, did you go back? And he asked me any question. Did you go back? Did you harm that turtle? Did you put him back in the woods? What did you do? And
I
that was
remember.
something like, so I knew that there was some sort of
Mm,
father in you. And I've reconnected with that because it's like your connection with like, yeah, maybe everybody doesn't do everything right, but there was a lot of things you did do right. So I want to tell you that, like that, I remember
eh,
all the good things and all the right things you did do. There was a lot of
I,
wrong things in that
mm,
time because I know you probably have immense regret. But
I do. I do
I
have some.
appreciate the good things that you did say to me and instilled into my life that went on into my adult lifetime. Um,
So, maybe somebody's listening to us in this room right now, Nathan, and I wish they'd come in and comment. We'd love to hear your story, but in a very similar situation that you and I were in, and they love their father. And, I think you could help them reaching out. I mean, um, you never know. I mean, you have some real experience with sharing the truth with loved ones, and very
Yeah,
proud
you
of
know, it's
you.
just like me with the whole family. You know, we have a massive family. I've tried to share a lot of these things with them. And it's even like my cousin Josh and things. He is very interested in this to Jesus thing. He calls me. He says, tell me more. Tell me more. I'm on the road now. Like, talk to me. I want to know because, like, what you were saying was so profound. I'd never heard this before. And it made a lot of sense to me. And I think with
Hmm.
some people, they get it, and that little spark thing just snaps into them. And I'm sorry, I hope we're not taking over the live going on. You can speak at any time. Okay, I just, but you know, reaching the family members and things, and I really hope when Paulina comes here and whatnot, she wants to meet a lot of the family. I hope that will help them a lot with understanding these things. I'm so glad that you received that truth that one night. I mean, that was an amazing night, and I'll never forget that for the rest of my life. I mean,
Well,
I could have never
Father
imagined that
had
you would
prepared
get
me.
this.
It was perfect timing. And it's really a cool story now that I look back at it. And, you know, I always had a desire to love and help people through this realm. And I failed at it as a pastor. As a young man, I don't want to get into details. I didn't fall into the den of iniquity or the place of ill repute or whatever. That was not the case. I did nothing immoral, but circumstances came into my life where I was no longer able to be a pastor. And to hear my son in these lives, it's like what I didn't get to do and what my dream was. I'm seeing it come true in my son now, and
all right, chill out a little bit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, but you're doing it now,
Cool,
Vic.
Yeah, you're doing it now.
You're doing it now.
Well,
So you did
I gotta
achieve
tell
it.
you, that's
Yeah, you're getting back to it. You're getting to where you wanted to be.
But I think if you have a child, you know you want the best for them, and I think that's what I'm trying to say. And yeah, a happy ending, huh?
And you're doing it together.
Yeah.
That's even more
been
special.
A blessing. It's been a blessing to even have you. It's so great that you can talk about this and understand it. I mean, I couldn't ask for anything more. I spent so many years trying to figure these things out and studying what's going on, and to have you here is an amazing feat, because there's a lot of people that they talk about that their parents don't understand me, or my family doesn't understand me, and that's a hard place to be in. You don't know how much it motivates me in life to know that you understand these things, and it's not all just down the crap chute, and nobody's gonna listen. It's hard. You put all that time and effort in, and people don't want to hear anything you have to say. And we don't. People can talk now. By the way, like we're just talking, but I don't want to take over this whole panel talk right now. So anybody's welcome to jump in. I just wanted to say that. Go ahead though. No, go ahead. Talk. Sorry, Dad. I was just saying, because we've been talking a lot. People aren't.
Yeah, I mean, this isn't about us tonight, but when when Father reveals a truth to you, anybody in this room, everybody in this room can relate to this. The thrill and excitement of that truth, you want to just go and shout it from the rooftops. And when your own mother and father or sister or brother reject you because you have spoken this truth to them, that's a tough pill to swallow. And I'm glad you and I had a happy ending, but my heart goes out. There's people in this room here tonight, I know, believe, and they've seen and they've tasted of the truth that we have. And they had just the same amount of, still do have the same amount of excitement and joy and thrill. And they went to tell their husband or a sister, brother, mother, father, and it didn't turn out this way. So there's hope. Yeah, there's hope for your loved ones. Maybe that's tonight's message.
That only takes about 3 years or so, but eventually it happens.
All right, I'm going to shut up here. I was really enjoying the other folks talking and really bringing some interesting things to the panel here. Just love hearing. I wish they'd say some more, but I know it's getting late. But I'm going to just listen for a while. Somebody else I want to talk, that's fine.
Thanks for talking, Dad. I appreciate it. We do have a unique story.
I just wanted to say thank you both so much. I'm just so glad that I'm here tonight. Just to hear everyone and to hear everything that Artis was saying and everyone else who's spoken. But I feel really just honoured and blessed to be able to hear both of your stories. That was just fabulous. That's just put a big smile on my face. It was really beautiful. So, yeah, that was well worth listening to. I think it's awesome.
I appreciate you because it was
I
hard to
agree.
get him to see it. It took a lot of years, and he did not receive it well at all at the beginning, and it took a long time. It took many years, but eventually now he's like, "Hey, I'm here. This is something real. I got to say something." And that's it's great to see what's happening in him and his life. And I haven't ever really seen. I want to say this too because it's like I rarely see change in people. You know, they go to church, they do this, and it's like this emotional response that's trying to be forced out of them. And even when I was in the church, it was the same thing. It's like I'm just trying to force an emotional response, and it's like I don't really feel this though. Like I don't feel what's really happening here. I don't think this is it. Like it doesn't make sense. And the more and more I studied, the more and more I researched, it was like I had to tell somebody in my family. I had to get to that point because it's like, okay, well, where are we at? What are we doing? Where's the world at? What are all these things we're waking up to? We got to make it make sense. And this was the only thing that made sense to me. And I didn't, you know, the fear of rejection is hard, especially from your own parents. And my mom rejects it completely. I mean, and she just, oh, I'm worried about your salvation, and oh, you know, and you're in a cult and all this, and I'm like, oh gosh, you know, it's hard. But then it's like when my dad received it and he saw it so plainly and simply, it was like, okay, finally, it's like somebody that I know in my real life that can accept this and see it. It was just a breath of fresh air. And I'm not going to talk no more. Anybody can talk now. I'm talking a little bit much.
You can talk, Nathan, because everybody seems to be tired.
Tired
Do your
myself.
thing.
I just
Yeah.
Well, I can say,
yeah. Go ahead.
my wife, like, she's Catholic and I'm Baptist, but I tried to get her involved in the church and read the Bible, and for years and years, and I bought her a Bible, and so then I started moving towards like the Hebrew roots and stuff, and then she didn't understand any of it, and I just kept trying to get her to read the Bible, and finally she did, and then she got, I don't know, maybe 12 chapters in Genesis, and then she told me that these people are horrible, this is horrible, and she didn't want to read it anymore. And then, you know, I was upset about that. And then I had to go back and tell her that she was right the whole time. I was wrong. Like, everything she said was correct. They are horrible. This is horrible. What they're doing is wrong, not good. It's wrong. And she was right the whole time. So I'm glad she didn't read it.
Yeah,
That's
it's very
amazing.
similar for me. Like I had to tell
So
my
it's
dad,
kind of
like
a
I'm so wrong.
Yeah.
Oh, go ahead.
It's
Go
kind
ahead,
of a
Elaine.
reverse story. It's kind of a reverse story from Nathan, where, you know, Nathan was the child going convincing the father, and you finally listened to your mom. You know, it's kind of the reverse. So that's good though.
Well, that was his wife, but not his
Oh,
mother.
sorry,
but
your wife. Sorry, I thought it was your mom.
But yeah, But yeah, I
Well,
told
it's
her
a little different.
you were right. You were right. I was wrong.
Yeah.
But from you know, growing up in a Baptist church or whatever, and the indoctrination, and she just never read the Bible, didn't care, and then she started reading it, and then she's like, "This is horrible," and she was right. So
Yeah.
And that was a big thing. Well, it was humbling for me too, because I think that was the big thing with my dad, which I was like, hey, I just want to let you know that this Hebrew thing and everything that I was doing, I was trying to coerce you into, is wrong. But I think he knew that. I think that's why he drew away.
Yeah, no doubt.
Because he was like, I don't know, Nathan, I don't know, and I think you're going down a wrong path, and I didn't want to hear all of that at that time, because I was like, well, Dad, you don't know nothing. No, I don't know. I just wanted to be on my own thing at that point, because I'm studying every day. Nobody else is studying every day. I'm just puffed up. I'm just prideful. And then when that hit me, and then I said, oh, wow, this is why I got brought into this, to be revealed all these truths. I'm like, wow, I was wrong about everything. And now I feel stupid. And it was just an immense, humbling experience. It changed me, absolutely. And then when I was in that attitude, and I called him, and I said, I'm so sorry, I was wrong about everything. Because that's kind of how the conversation started off, where it was like, yes. I said all these things to you, and I'm so sorry that I was trying to mislead you, because now I've figured out a little bit of a different truth. And he's like, okay, I'll listen. And I don't know. It just... you want to tell your family members. You want to tell your family. Yeah, and I'm so appreciative that you did. I mean, I couldn't believe that you did. It was miraculous. I mean, it really was just unbelievable that you listened to me. And I've seen the changes. I've seen everything that's going on with your life. And it's like, wow, it's a real change. All these things have just totally transformed differently. You don't see that with a lot of the other religious aspects of just how they're trying to say, oh, do this, do that. Well, maybe they'll act a little better, but there's no real spiritual transformation. That's never happened for me. And none of these supernatural experiences that all these people talk about, none of those things have really happened for me. I haven't gotten any of these cool things that everyone talks about, so I felt left out in that aspect, but I still wanted to know truth. But yeah, it just... God, right. And now, and see, now that you get this, it sparked other people's interest in the family. And they're like, well, wait a second, Pastor Vic, he gets something. He's agreeing with Nate now? Wait, what's going on? And so that now they're interested. Smoking? Yeah, but they're interested. They're interested, these cousins yes. and people in the family, they're yes. interested. And now we're starting to be able to have a little door cracked open to say, well, think about this, think about that. Have you thought about this with Jesus? Have you thought about what he said? Have you thought that there's maybe two Jesuses? Have you thought about, Yahweh? And all those things are so important to really understand, to be, because I can't imagine trying to live my life being lost in that madness of the Torah observance. Because when I was in it, I felt the most cursed I've ever been in my entire life. I mean, that was, I just was like, I remember telling the leader of that group, I said, I feel like my life is cursed. I was about to break down in tears. I'm like, I feel so cursed. I feel like this is so wrong. But you're telling me it's right. And he's like, it is right. It is right. Like, no, you just got to do this. You got to do that. And I'm like, no, I don't know. This doesn't feel right. And then I went to the church because I thought that was going to give me answers. And then they were a bunch of Calvinists. And I'm like, oh gosh, this is another evil that I've never seen before. And then now we're where we're at now, but
that's awesome.
Anyway.
Does anybody have any topics they'd like to hear next?
Yeah, I'd love to hear somebody in the chat or the panel. We haven't had anybody try to come up in the past couple nights that's wanting to talk. So let me look at it. You can see.
Everything's going in the right direction, and that these truths that we're sharing with those listening are just a few. I understand. I think we are in end times, and I believe the truth always comes out in the end. And I think what we've gotten a hold of here is the ultimate truths that are going, that it's going to grow. This is going to grow.
That's right.
This is
That's
very
right,
powerful.
because we can answer the Satanist questions. We can answer the atheist questions. We can answer all these things that they're
Hebrew
researching and
roots.
trying to study. Everyone,
The Hebrew
we have
roots
the
questions.
answer. Whether they want to listen or not is up to them.
Right.
But
Right.
we can conjoin all these people together to say, hey, all these discrepancies and things that have been fighting about and arguing about for years, hundreds and hundreds of years, we have an answer. And that is paramount with what we're trying to talk with people about.
Right.
Nothing else really
very
matters.
powerful.
There's tons of topics that we could try to talk about, but nothing really matters like this topic, in my opinion. But you know, we're going through a lot as people, and anyways, Clay, if you want to talk, you can too. I wanted you to talk more.
Isn't it true though that in the end, that we've talked about this, like the age of Aquarius, the age of knowledge and truth and wisdom is going to be a part of the end, and I really feel like that's where we're at, and I think there's some more truth that's going to come out for us. I not quite on the level we're at now. When I saw that there was an imposter Jesus and a real Jesus, that was mind-blowing. But I knew the potential of that because I know in the end, really, there'll be two Jesuses in the end. The Antichrist and, well, let's just, I don't know, but a real one and a fake one. We all know this from
Yeah, he let us know that, and he said we would follow the wrong one. It's like he
Yeah.
came in his father's name, and when the other one comes, we'll
Yes.
follow the one that comes in his own name.
Yes. And so if it's at the end, it makes sense. It was probably there at the beginning too. And that was a little truth that was a little thought that helped me really connect to this thing about there being two Jesuses. And I had mentioned earlier, I had heard of Jesus Barabbas way back in seminary. There was, of course, it was quickly sequestered and swept under the carpet somehow. But I remember hearing about Jesus Barabbas way back, but only in a name reference sense. There was never a connection made like what we're talking about tonight. And I'd like to write a book about this someday, and because I don't know of any really good books about this truth. So that's something that, and I know I could pull from your material, artist, if you don't mind. But like, I know Amazon will publish a book for you now. Anybody
Oh yeah,
can
you're
publish a
welcome to
book.
use any of it. I tell everybody
Well,
that.
I would get with you. And I'm not sure that's the route I'm going down now, but I have concerns about all this digital stuff we're involved in right now and how easily the switch could be flipped off. I mean, we just wake up one morning and our, unless you're in full compliance or something, maybe we won't have the access that we have now or whatever, but we'll still have books. And I know Elaine has put together some stuff, and I've been checking the mail every day because I know some hard copies are on their way. And I'm just, for me, being an older gentleman, well, I don't know about the gentleman part, but being 65 years old now, I prefer reading. The computers and the phones, they're tough on the eyes. And I know if I've got a book on the shelf, uh, that's something I'm always going to have. And so, thank you, Aline.
Go ahead, Clay. You're unmuted. Say something.
Just gonna say, if you want to know the enemy, anytime you see stealing, killing, and destroying, that's the enemy. You see
I
someone
agree with you.
dying, yep, that's when your alarm bell should be ringing. Like, whoop, what's going on here?
Yeah, he was talking about the end, how the plug could be pulled on any of us. Made me think of this verse in Matthew 5:18. It's like, and it literally means, for I say to you in the end, this is in modern Greek, until the audio visual passes, the heaven and the earth's iota in one antenna will not pass by from the prefect or the district of the government until the audio visual of everything comes to an end. And that's where he's talking about the dot, in the tittle, thing. It's literally talking about, it's a prophecy of the end times. This little thing, this iota right here, we're all using those. They're in your home. They're on your computer thing. This was a prophecy of the future, I think. I don't think it had anything to do with, because there was no jots and tittles in the text until like, I want to say 1400s or 1200s or something like that. The text had nothing. Uh-oh. I'm messing up my screen, but I'll show you what I mean. It's
It just come up.
Well, even the IO is input output or on off.
Yeah,
I mean
see
that is computer.
IOTA is an open source distributed ledger and cryptocurrency designed to record and execute transitions between devices and machines in the Internet of Things. The IOTA ledger uses a cryptocurrency called MIOTA to account for transactions in the network. It's an internet, a tangible system of nodes used for confirming transactions. So in other words, these are going in everybody's home right now. See that little advertisement there? IOTA-based healthcare solution. And these are already been put in our homes, and they're going to control what with the cryptocurrency, what you can do. You can have everything shut off. There it is there. And I looked these terms up, and it's IOTA. And amen in first century meant in the end. That's how I got that. You can see the verse there better where I translated it. But that's translation using modern Greek instead of ancient Greek. But it says that, and these are like an antenna thing, it even says that. And it says the government is the one that does it in the modern Greek.
That's pretty wild.
Yeah, here we go. This is Sprint doing the IOTA. These are straight. I took these screenshots right offline, people. Then we have that one. That's the German government has chosen IOTA for their government energy project. So with the cryptocurrency, they'll be able to turn Germany's power off with these things that are in everybody's homes. This is what I mean. There's so much that I've seen that I'm really, it's like I want to show it to y'all. They'll probably come after me if I do, though. But the verse that everybody says that, that this has to do with the law, Matthew 5:17, it says, don't believe that I came down to loosen a person tied to their law, our prophets. I came down not to loosen anyone tied, but to pay for you. Playru's not in that sentence. they've got that in the Strongs as being Pleroo. It's not Pleroo. It meant to pay for somebody, to unyoke them, unharness them. Figuratively, okay, the number one definition in the ancient Greek was to give money for work done or goods received. The second one was sacrificing something in exchange for a benefit. And the third one was to suffer for past actions, like to pay by suffering. And in it was meant to unharness somebody. And it was to pay for them like in the sense of a ransom. And I checked this word out thoroughly. I mean, I checked it in all these translators and stuff. I checked it there. This is where the ancient Greek is on Wiki. I went and checked sentences. These are sentences using the exact same words, same spelling, everything. Every one of them reads to pay, to pay, to pay, to pay. Every one of them. It's like it had nothing to do with, you know, to fulfill. It meant to pay for something.
Yeah, we got stuff here going on. The AD something, I don't know what your name is. If you're up here on the panel, we'd like to talk about something. Sorry, it's
Oh, hi. Are you talking about me? Hi. Okay, so with what I have two things, but with what you were just saying when you said that he didn't come to fulfill or something, but to pay.
Right.
How I kind of thought about it was, so I also believe that the God of the Old Testament is definitely Satan. And I think that, when Jesus said, like, do not take an oath, I think what he was doing was paying for all the people that have taken the oath and come into agreement with the law of the Old Testament, because with that law came the curses. So he came to pay for them, if that makes sense. Basically, to set them free from that law.
Right.
Is how I have been interpreting
agree
it.
with you.
And then with so I know when I just started watching your video about the two Jesuses, which my mind is completely blown. But I feel like there is something there because I was reading, I think it was in Exodus or something. It was about like the Yom Kippur sacrifices with the two goats that are identical, And I know that during in the Gospels, it says it was during the Passover, but have you guys looked into the Yom Kippur sacrifices with the two goats and how they're identical and one gets,
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, one
and
goes to Yahweh and one goes to
yeah.
to Azazel.
And I just saw a connection between the crucifixion and that, but I can't put it together. But I just saw something there, and I was wondering if anyone else has seen anything or thought
Yep.
kind of the same things with that.
Well, we know that Yahweh demands blood sacrifice, right?
Yes.
So if his Christ is going to come through and he's going to say those same things, and he's that blood sacrifice, probably not the right one that you want to follow.
And also that also just put another piece of the puzzle together in my head, which you guys have already probably put together. But when he's being crucified, the Jews say, "And let his blood be on us." When Pilate's washes his hands, remember before the
Right.
crucifixion, and the Jews scream out "Let his blood cover us and our children," or something like that. Which obviously that's not.
That don't sound right to you, right?
Yeah, and that's what or I used to say as a Christian, we want to be covered in the blood, but really, when you read it, you're that's kind of the wrong side to be on.
Yeah, I think it's the wrong side to be on.
Me too.
Yeah. But they sure had the songs and stuff, and they turned it into a blood cult,
Yeah.
No doubt.
No,
No
yeah,
doubt
I recently just I always knew something was wrong with like the church and stuff, and I just really started reading my Bible this year, and I said, okay, I'm going to shut off all the teachers. I'm done with the church, and I'm just going to let the Spirit guide me. And that's kind of where it's taken me. And then I found your
Is
channel
it?
and a couple others, and I'm just like, oh my gosh, there's other people that believe this too. I thought
Yeah,
I was
yeah,
crazy,
yeah.
but I know it's
No,
true because
no.
it just jumped off the page, like his words. I used his words, and I'm like, wow, it's crazy.
Mm. I'm so glad that you're saying the things that you're saying because it's helpful to us. It's helpful to know that the people are actually seeing these things. Because
Yeah,
we've been
no.
working with this for years and years. We didn't have anybody coming up or nobody that would say anything. And then now that we've started doing the TikTok lives, it's people come up all the time and say, I see this. And you don't know how much we appreciate it because it's been years and years of just rejection and just nobody getting it. And then just having even just that little voice that comes up and says, I get it. It means
I just
everything to
think
us.
people are
Trust us.
so scared because their church and like indoctrination, it just scares people to say these things because we're called
Oh, no
heretics
doubt. Oh,
or
no.
you know what I
Oh,
mean?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. You got to get past that.
But I mean, there's no fear in Jesus, like
No,
perfect love casts out
we
all
don't need to
fear.
have any
So
fear.
yeah.
Oh, it's so great. I'm really glad that you get it.
I
Yeah,
am
thank you
too.
so much for speaking on this. I'm learning so much, and it's also just like putting the pieces together that I haven't put together, like the empty spaces. It's really helping me. So thank you guys.
You're welcome. Okay, I'm glad that you're here. I'm glad that you're talking.
Hey, fourth gen. That's something I've been trying to figure out is how did we lose our connection with Father, or how did we end up in hell if Father created us? I think we were kidnapped because he said that he called us. Um, he came to set the captives free. So somehow we were taken, I think, and brought here, and then we were like having more children here. You know. And he said a couple places that he was paying a ransom for us. And a ransom is a price paid to a kidnapper.
Yeah, that's right.
That's my theory after what all I've looked at so far. It's like I continue to look at this very carefully. Y'all can tell. It's like I'm even looking at it in modern, and they don't want people to look at it modern. I don't think there was one of the biblical scholars that left because he kept arguing that there was no difference between ancient and modern Greek, and he thought that it was all trumped up mess, and he literally walked out of all of it because of that. His arguments with the other scholars, they were like, no, you have to stick to the ancient. But he was probably seeing some of the same things I'm seeing. It's probably why he was arguing that.
Well, you got to stick to the narrative. You
Oh
always
yeah, there's so many books
narrative.
written, and the Bible's number one
Right.
seller still. And you've got
Yes.
extra books written. There's been more money made off of Revelation than any other book in the Bible.
I can believe it.
You got all these people, and they start peddling their books. It's like I need one guy. He became very famous on YouTube, and he found out about Paul, but he would not change his online thing because he did not want to lose all his money for his book sales and everything. Even though he knew the truth, he wouldn't turn around and go backwards. I accept no money for what I do. My YouTube channel and everything, it's monetized, but I've never cashed a dime out of it, and I won't. Because he said we receive without pay, we are to give without asking for money. You know.
What were they doing in Egypt? That's my question.
That's a good point too.
You know, I mentioned orphan trains to you earlier. Maybe they had orphan trains, 2 or 3,000 years ago. They're doing some weird stuff.
Well, look at child trafficking. You know, they'll take children. Why wouldn't they take fathers' children for slave labor or something? Because basically we're under a slavery system here. We have to work to make sure we got a roof over our head, to make sure we got food we need to keep our body alive. We're constantly struggling and and we don't see a whole lot of benefit from what we do struggle with, except for just survival, basically. Some few make it up into that 1% that are living a plush life, but most people are just struggling. So we're still slaves, whether, all of us. To me, I mean, that's my opinion. Kip, did you want to come up?
I don't think he has enough followers or whatever. Told him.
Oh, okay.
You can try to invite him again. I tried to multiple times. It said he was available to be invited, but I couldn't do it.
I sent an invitation in case he did. But we have a small percentile of the poor population basically running things and making money and living high lifestyles, while the rest are all basically functioning like slaves. And that's one reason I did what I did. Since I couldn't work, I thought, well, if I look at this stuff real careful, then I can share with the people that don't have time to look because they got to work and they got kids and. Yeah, he may not have enough numbers to come up or something.
Well, breaking this down, artist, has been so helpful for me because I need a little something more tangible than common sense and just knowing our enemy. And that was a big factor in me seeing this. I know how our enemy operates. I know about his dualistic nature. I've always known that. And but to have it separated, broken down, I gotta wonder, what were these translators thinking? And when you break this down into Greek and in different ways, it shows me, and I know it's been a lot of work, and I am truly grateful. I want to say that because for me, I need that. And so as I go through your videos and your things that you share on Discord, it really fortifies these truths that have recently come to me. So I just wanted to thank you for that. I know I can't imagine the amount of time and energy it's taken. Enough of that. Don't get no ego on us now.
Oh, no. No.
But I think you know what I'm trying to say here. For a lot of us, we want to see something in I love the book of John. I mean, it has become like my go-to book. It's all I read anymore. And yeah, there's some of JC in there. I can see it. But really, Jesus Bar Abba shines through for me in the book of John. And I think somebody mentioned they're trying to remove that book from these newer versions. And it's no surprise to me because I see a lot in there that really shouts out, this is the real Jesus speaking here, not the imposter. And breaking it down has been just like the icing on the cake.
I love that one card I did, because to me that was what sent it home to me, was thinking about all the good things he did for them, and then
Yes.
who would they have been yelling for, They wouldn't have been wanted to unalive him. There's no way.
No way. No way.
Well, guys, it's 10:30. I'm probably going to call it, because I think we've been on, since 7, so. But.
Well, it was awesome.
Oh, yeah, I
Thank
think it
you.
turned out really nice, and I really enjoyed all the conversations tonight. Thank you, guys. Vita,
Yeah,
everybody,
it's been great.
everyone that
Great, yeah.
participated, thank you so much. Thanks for
right.
showing up, too.
That's a wrap.
Yeah.
I love you guys.
Love you too. Love everybody.
Love you all.
Yeah, absolutely. We loved having you.
Alrighty.
I'm
Good night.
going to bed.
Me too. Y'all have a good one. Good night.
Good night.
Night.